good.
5 o'clock.
We are going to commence the Town of Sangerville Board of Selectmen meeting August 2nd. I have 5:01 on my watch. The entire board is present, along with the town manager. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with item 2 now, approval of the minutes, July 12, 2017, and July 17, 2017. I know I've signed them.
Make a motion to approve as written.
A second?
In favor? Item 3, review of treasurer's warrants, payrolls, numbers 122, 123, and 125.
Make a motion to approve the payrolls
Second.
as read.
Favor? Good. Accounts payable, number 118, 119, 120, 121, 124, 126, 127, 128.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
In favor? It's unanimous. Open session. Would anyone like to speak today?
Are we added on as a somewhere?
You're under rec committee.
You got your own piece of time.
Okay, I did not see that. I
No, you're good.
apologize. Thank you. Just wanted-
Peter?
Yes, Peter Discharge, French's Mills Road. I just wanted to extend, like to thank you for helping me out with an issue that we had last Saturday with some UTVs that are going through our road several times of the night. And Saturday was the worst that I've seen so far. And it's the same 3 riders. There's 3 separate UTVs. So Mike was professional enough to extend a courtesy and talk to the sheriff's office for me. And, I just want to thank you for that. I'm sure it's going to happen again because they've been doing it for a couple of years now. Since we moved there, we've been there 3 years, but and it's progressively getting worse because they know nobody's doing anything about it. So, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Just to follow up on that, the sheriff's department was very receptive. She took, so I'm in there as a select board member of an official complaint. I am sure that if a resident were to call and say, gee, somebody just went through, sheriff's department might scoot right over there. And she was also going to inform the warden. So they sound like they take this riding at night pretty seriously. So at least we have it on the record. So. Anybody else? Selectmen concerns. I was going to bring that up, but we just covered it, so that's it.
I was going to do it in correspondence, we do it here. I had one resident call the other night. They had a complaint about our roadside mowing. They didn't feel that the way the section of road they were talking about was mainly grass. So it was where he's using the bush hog instead of a mower. It's not like a lawn when it's being cut. And it was wet, so it looked a little clumpy. I went down a couple days later, and it doesn't look like a lawn, but it is mowed, and it's the way it's supposed to have been. I did try to explain it to the person that we've moved to having it done with a brush hog now instead of being done with a sickle bar, because before all we was getting was a grass cut, and the bushes were starting to overtake us. So now we're trying to focus on getting the brush and stuff cut. And this is basically a bad side effect. The grass isn't going to be lawn smooth. They seem to understand. I don't know if they really liked it, but that's how it ended. So
I'm good, yeah.
Item
Why
6.
did these people call you, not the town office?
good question. My phone rings until I've had phone calls 9, 10 o'clock at night and start at 5:30 in the morning, so,
Weekends and holidays.
yes.
Seems with the town manager, those, I mean,
Oh, no.
it just seems like that's what the town manager would be responsible for, and saying that day-to-day issues with the town.
Not really disagreeing with you, but it's part of what happens, I mean.
Anything else? Item 6, rec committee.
Did you give him anything?
Yep. First, we would like you to, for this, we'll just pull the exhibit here. Where you can see it and describe different areas. Not sure where it's got started. I know it's kind of hard to see, but we'll go down the list of items that we would like to present for expenditure. First, we thank you for putting it on the town meeting to get all those housekeeping issues resolved. So,
Okay.
on this packet here is all of our items we would like to present to you. There's nine items. So, item 1 is to purchase more pond silts. Now that the field part is done, we're trying to focus on that, what we call the lower section. So, the grade from the road to where the gazebo is, it dips down too much, so pond silts with Rob Haley is really our cheapest means and the quickest means to kind of get the grade done and keep the project moving along. It's at $3 a yard, so it's not terribly expensive by no means.
Is that delivered? I'm sorry, is that delivered?
No, it's not delivered, no. So we're trying to get some volunteers, but now and then we're asking if maybe Public Works could help us deliver a few loads or whatever, as time permits.
Do you, I see, 25, 12 yard.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
what we're estimating is 20 loads over here where the gazebo is, and then right here where the field is in this corner, there's a low spot, so we're thinking like 5 loads there, so 20 down here, 5 up there. Until we kind of grades it, it's hard to kind of guesstimate.
The low section's right, if you were looking at the field towards the town hall, right as we, from down there, it'd be to the left of the rock. That's the really low spot where we're talking, where most of this would go. As you're looking at it from the
Yeah,
road,
yeah.
okay? Just to give you a better visual.
And it's important to note that Robbie donated 1,800 yards already. So, I don't think the business should go to someone other than Haley's either, because he donated 1,800 yards at $3 a yard for nothing.
600.
$600 and $1,800
Yeah,
worth,
yeah.
right? So, he really came through when we asked him.
Yeah, and the market value is actually more than $3, so even at $3, we can get the rest. So I'm not sure if you want to approve these one by one, or you want us to present them, and then you guys can discuss them, or...
And the other side is, this is money that we've raised, it's not town funds either, so this is all coming out of money that we've already raised through donations. I know it's town funds because it sits in the reserve account, but the money's not coming from taxpayers, I guess is what I'm saying.
It originated as donations.
Right.
Yeah, this is what we moved.
Right,
in the town.
yeah, yes.
Can we go through these small ones, and then we can come back?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yep.
So one is to help finish the groundwork, so we need the fill material. Number 2, we would like to, if you flip to the next page, there's a local guy in Guilford that can make picnic tables. He sells them for $140. He basically said he would do them for $120 for us, have them all painted and whatnot. I also went to the Home Depot and Lowe's website. You can buy like pre-made kits, but then you have to assemble them and paint them and all that. We would kind of recommend, if the committee all agrees, to maybe pursue these tables. We'll check them out a little more quality, but
I would recommend not using those Home Depots, because we needed a new picnic table, and I went down and looked at those, because I saw them online.
No.
They don't handpick nothing when they put them kits, so,
Oh.
yeah, so you get all the
Bottom
knot,
of
the
the barrel.
twist, and not really what you might want to set
Yeah,
down.
so this guy, he's cool, he's
Yeah.
a pretty nice guy. His name is Bill Kane. He lives over near the Guilford B&B. He basically said he would let us choose our color or whatever, and it would take him a couple weeks to go and pursue that avenue. But either way, I think conceptually the price is going to be in that neighborhood. I don't think it's going to be too much different. I mean, we could go with metal ones, but I think we would end up spending thousands of dollars on picnic tables, that these are somewhat, probably good for, 5 to 8 years, you know what I mean, they're not.
Your only option there, if you even had a thought of metal, would be to go see Willie Williams, because I know he's done stuff in the past, but
Well,
I don't know if
he's
he's,
like a concrete version, but
yeah.
and we can't remove them and all that, so I think these are kind of nice because we can rotate them around. The next thing is, if you could go down a little further in the thing, we would like to build 4 benches potentially. This would be one design. So the next page is a quote from Levels Hardware. It's about $40, and then we will have volunteers build them. So in this scenario, we put in $45 because there may be some nuts and screws and things that are not in the quote. But so we have the 4 benches. The next one is a little more complicated, but we had an electrician by the name of John Jones come over. He's based out of Garland. He's a certified electrician. His business is electrical power systems. He came over, he looked at recommending what we would need to do the hook up the power to the gazebo. It's roughly 300 feet to the gazebo. So basically, we have an offer from Brian Howard, the owner of Gordon Contracting, to hook up a trench digger on his skid steer, and he would cut the ditch from the current power pole all the way across to the gazebo. He would cut it down to either 2 feet to 36 feet, or 24 inches to 36 inches. We also, the next item is sand, because we have to put sand in the trench. Per the code, per John, we would use conduit to connect it to the existing box, so conduit to kind of go down in the ground. But because it's buried far enough down, code allows you just to bury the wire across. So we do the wire, then sand, then the red tape, and then the dirt that we took out from the trenching, we top it back off. So that would go all the way across. So once it got back to once it got to the road, it'd be conduit under the road, because that's code, it has to be in a conduit when it crosses over under the road. And then basically wire, then when it comes back up, it would come back up through conduit. Then there would be a power box on there. We're gonna go with 2 20 amp outlets, so there'd be 4 plugs in total. And that would sit like on maybe the back side of the gazebo. I mean, the place hasn't been officially determined where, but that's kind of the concept, what we're thinking. So if you will, the current power pole is kind of over near the playground, so it would go from the playground between the dugout. Right here's a power pole, so it kind of right here, it would go. Let's see. Here's the power pole, so it would kind of go across between the dugout and the shack, then go under the road through the conduit over to the end of the rock pile. Because if we do get to a point where we want to put a building there, we want to be able to put a junction box there and redo it. And then from there, it would go out to the gazebo. So it would, kind of go in the conduit, across over to here, through the conduit here. Sorry. In the conduit, then just buried, and then through another conduit under the road, then all the way across, and then over to the gazebo. And then come back up through the conduit. So you can see the materials listed in there. He recommended what they call a 10-2 outdoor grade cabling. That's more than enough for 30 watt. It's actually for 30 ampage, but because of the distance, he recommended going with the 10-2.
Been through that.
So with that, we put in 6 things that can do it at like $4. So nail connectors, the wire obviously is the biggest part. If we buy it from Home Depot, where this quote was based on, the wiring is roughly $200. You have to buy it in a 250 and a 50-foot roll. So all in all, it's about $300 for the electrical material. However, True Textile does quite a bit of business with Gilman Electric in Newport, so I have called the gentleman down there, and he's pending potentially donating materials to us. I won't know until tomorrow. He was in and out. So I guess for today, we would ask for authorization, $300 pending, the donation.
And he's going to donate his labor too.
Yeah, and the electrician's going to donate his time
To do all of this?
Well, we're going to do all the trenching, get everything, and
Right.
when he's ready, we'll he'll come over and we'll kind of do it jointly together.
Right.
And then he'll
Oh, that's
terminate it all together. So.
No, that's... Who is the electrician?
His name is John Jones.
Okay. I have a disclosure. It's my ex-husband.
Oh,
Too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, I gave him a call.
I personally reached out to Bill Pinkham. Unfortunately, he hasn't returned my call. I tried 4 times. We were just trying to get numbers ready tonight. I also reached out to Brent Washburn. Brent's just too busy. So we did try other contractors for the electrician piece. This guy came forward, and I'm very happy with his quote.
Yeah, free's good.
Free?
I wouldn't argue with it.
Material donated, that's even better.
That's
so keep going.
awesome.
The piece that you're not putting conduit, how much is that saving you by just burying? I mean, is it prohibitive to put conduit there?
No, we could do it. He said we wouldn't gain much. Can't do the math now, but it's only $4 for a 10-foot section, so it might be another.
I ran into a situation personally where we ran conduit, and at the time I didn't think much of it. It cost me a little bit of money. Then I had to upgrade the system, and of course you're able to do that quite easily. If I had buried it and paved over it, it would have been a disaster.
Right, you leave a pull string.
Right, well, yeah, they'll
pull
blow
lines.
a
Yeah.
string through, and then after that they
Yep.
can do anything.
That's a very good point.
And so I would,
Yeah.
for a few dollars you can conduit the whole thing. It gives you a lot of flexibility later.
Well, not only that, at 2 to 3 feet.
Yeah, it'd be $93.60.
I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 2 to 3 feet. If you got a rock underneath there, the frost
Yeah.
pushes it up. 3 years from now, you could be cutting that wire if it's not in conduit, where it's in a roadway.
I
I mean-
could, just like he said, you can run a string, and
He
if
did
something
it,
happens out of the wire, you've got a
Oh,
backup.
you're done.
Yep.
and I was replacing it within a month of putting it in, and I was very.
It's pretty good
Yeah.
insurance just to do that last little bit, really.
That's all. Yeah, that's my
And
thoughts
we
on
may,
that.
again, we may get it from nothing.
Yeah,
We may. I'm not saying
Well,
we will.
even if you don't, I think it would be money well spent.
Yeah.
for $100 or $2, I wouldn't hesitate.
The sand, again, we just estimated $10 a yard. It's just a cheap sand, so, and then we probably have Public Works to haul it over. The next thing is where the gazebo is gonna sit. We're gonna dig it down, I think he said 16 to 24?
16 to 24 inches.
Yeah, dig that out. It's actually a pretty big area, because if we go 6 feet on both sides, the gazebo is 24, so 6 on either side is 36 feet, and then the other way it's 16 plus 6 and 6, so 24. So we want to put the weed fabric down in the bottom, then put all the rock, pack it down, put the weed fabric down, then all the rocks. I mean, I'm not sure.
You got to get that donated.
No, that's $50.
You make it every day, Jason.
That's fabric.
They make that fabric?
You make polyester fabric.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's
True
not-
textile.
First, it's just fabric, not really weed fabric.
Works,
And it's
right?
So we just, we had to ask Levels to quote on whatever private price, but he didn't use a 220-foot roll, so we just thought, it's coming in there for $50.
With the material that you pull out to create that hole, help you on the first landing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of
You-
factored in.
You already put that in there,
Yeah,
okay.
it was, yeah. I mean, the slope is so much, it's kind of hard for us to kind of really estimate what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Any extra, because we have some places on the edges, we gotta fix up a little bit, so the pond cell is kind of easy for us to kind of put a little bit here and there and fix like the corners and stuff. The next item, I'm not sure how to deal with this one, but our builder that we would like to use, George Smith and Son Builders, is owned by gentleman Brian Smith in Dover, Foxborough. He has done he's been in business for many years. One of his current pieces of work is if you head towards Bangor, just outside the Dover line where the Christmas tree place is, and then it's like all those tractors, like all those new houses in that development were all built by him. So he's a very reputable builder.
He did on top of Center Theater too, he did all that work.
The deck and stuff on top of the Center Theater. He's built a gazebo before. So I think he's provided,
Yeah, you should have a materials.
Yeah, we got that.
he
Yeah.
provided the drawing of the gazebo. So again, it's 24 by 16, like an 8-foot roof entrance, I think 12 foot to the center peak. And you guys can see the drawing. Unfortunately, his wife was out of town over the weekend and she wasn't able to draft a quote. But basically, his quote is $6,000 for labor and to have it done hopefully 10 business days. And he's gonna have it, like, he's gonna be there every day, he's not gonna be juggling jobs or anything like that. He's gonna, once he starts it, he'll be there. So you guys can check the math, but if you just did 4 guys is what his crew is at $25 an hour with benefits, so that's $800 per day times 10 days, that's $8,000. We feel, just as a check, that $6,000 was a good deal. And again, he wanted to help us with the project, but he couldn't donate it totally for free. He's a small builder still.
Is the gazebo going to be ADA?
Yes,
It is.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
We're hoping that we can catch like Pike at the end of the day and get pavement from them so that we can do a paved walkway.
Okay, and a ramp or whatever
Well,
to,
Yes.
yeah.
okay.
It's going to stay low to the ground, so any type of ramp will be pretty minimal.
I know the picture shows it high, but it's not. We're only talking a
It's
foot.
it's floating.
And I think you can do the pavement without doing a ramp, because it's
Right.
like for every 1 inch of incline, you gotta have 12 inches. I
Right.
think.
Right,
So
right,
I
yeah,
think
it's
we
gotta
can
be
do
pretty
that.
gradual.
It's not bad.
It's what?
That's not a bad incline.
No,
Come up there.
no.
And I did call a contractor in Corinth, just for a comparative. 2 guys, $55 an hour is what he would charge, so his price seems to be pretty decent.
How many builders does Brian come with?
4.
4?
He's going to have 4 on the crew. Yeah.
Wow, jeez,
That'll go up quick.
it will.
Is it will be one entrance like this picture shows?
Yeah. It'll be on the roadside, the ball field side. No sense to go all the way around.
No,
Correct.
no.
What basically, we're hoping to position it so when you look out or standing in the entrance and looking out, you're going to be looking at the American flag.
Yeah, the flag that's on,
Across.
right between the 2 ball fields.
And we're trying to make it so that the background is just the trees, so if people want to take prom pictures, wedding pictures or something there, they're not going to have any of the houses in the background. It would just be the trees, so it's kind of positioning it the right way.
Mhm.
And I think you'll see prom pictures more, I mean, you go to Guilford at prom time and they're all like that gazebo, so.
And everybody complains because that gazebo is so small. You're all like this in there.
Or a wedding, if someone
Yep.
wants to do their wedding, I mean, this would be perfect for them to do a wedding pictures and stuff in too, so.
I think it's fair to note that Brian has worked with us since, April, off and on,
Yeah,
putting us
actually before
materials,
that,
all
yeah.
kind of stuff, so, I mean,
And between what the town has already appropriated and the credit union has already given 1,000, we're pretty close to that price right now. Anyway, we've got that amount of money to pay. All composite material, no screws, no splinters, very little maintenance. I mean, you're talking 25-year architectural shingles on the roof. You're talking all composite material building it, you're not staining it every other year. So the maintenance part of it is what we're shooting for. A little bit more up front, but in the end, you go in with a pressure washer once or twice a year at the most and clean it up and it's done, so. And I think we have all of the funds to pay for it, and what isn't there on Shore Taylor Contracting to come up with some money out of their
The
pocket.
power we're gonna put in the ceiling too, and we're gonna have a junction box so we can control it. Nobody can get down it just at any time and.
Suck power off of it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it's enough power to run bands and stuff. That's one thing that I made sure when Jason was meeting with this gentleman. When a
Run
person
bands.
who's a musician plays music, you need the power to make sure you can run stuff.
yeah, so in the spirit of that, going to number 9, across the street, Numeral Stamp and Play Company.
I got one.
They have offered to, if we buy the material, they will do the engraving for us for free, so we would like to,
It's going to be 4-inch by
Put all
4-inch though,
sponsors.
so it's going to be another 2 inches down, so it's a little bit bigger. And what we'd like to do is right in the top of the gazebo, kind of out of sight, out of mind, but yet not to the weather. It'll be
Oh, that's cool.
right around the whole.
Yeah.
Everybody who chipped in.
Right.
that chip in.
Yeah. So I mean,
Wow.
We just have to buy the
the green stuff we have to buy,
material.
but they'll engrave everything.
That's cool.
Very nice.
How's it mean?
And then the last item
Yeah.
that's on the list,
That's
I
great.
think it was maybe a separate handout, was the item list from the current building materials.
No, just to start, I highlighted, I don't know if it shows up on yours, but right at the top, right now we're guesstimating the 1,152 board feet. That should cover the decking, the steps, the ramp, okay? Just so you understand what we're looking at. The 2 different prices is because of this right here. The lower price, the $2,900 one, is this material right here with the groove stuff, okay? The more expensive up top is this stuff, it's solid. There was some concern at the beginning when I started talking with Brian that some of that will do this. But Andy leveled, Bax's product, he said if you had issues, bring it back, we'll take care of it. But Brian built his own personal one about 15 years ago, and that's where he said he on his own. So we've kind of got to decide what we're going to do. I'm comfortable with the cheaper one. I think material has come a long way, just like anything, things get better. So that's that. Those two prices there. In the green,
That's about $900.
So either or. The
so you got to decide as a committee what.
Which one does your 9,500 represent?
It's the more expensive.
No.
Okay,
Oh.
all right, that's,
Right,
because honestly,
Oh.
get this from my opinion, and with my only concern that I have, everything you just said, if you really want to know the truth, is the 9,500. Only because the town has $10,000 bidding. As long as you stay under 10, you don't have to put this all out for bid. But if you guys spend this money and you come in over 10,000 and you didn't do a bid on it, it's not going to go good. That's my concern.
So if someone else pays for it out of their pocket and it doesn't go through the town, anything that goes over, we're all.
As long as it doesn't go over 95, it does not go over $10,000, we do not have to have a bid.
Rhonda will take care of that.
That, just so you know, that's my concern.
I will not let it happen.
I just want to make sure I follow, just from my own
So you
perspective.
make sure your materials don't go over 10,000.
But we're asking for 17.8 tonight, so I just want to make sure that we got
But
itemized
that's-
there. That's what I'm trying to understand, to make sure that
Just
we're.
that one item.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it, to me, the way I'm representing our bidding policy, a project, so like that expenditure can't go over 10, right? It's not a matter of the 6 plus the 95 to go over 10. Or is it? I'm asking, because I don't know. I don't know how to word that.
Well, if we're purchasing the
We're-
material,
That's not part of
that's
it.
not part of it.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're okay.
Right.
I don't want to have another conversation. I
Picnic
wanna-
tables are an item. They're
Right.
not part of this whole. So we
Right.
can approach it that way.
Again, I was just trying to make sure I understood too, because I understand what you're saying, that we do have that policy
We'd
as a
be cutting
company.
two different checks, so we'd be cutting one to the
Correct.
builder and
Okay.
then one for materials, so we
Okay.
need.
But it's the
one.
same deal. You can buy your material to do your tables and your benches, that's a project.
Right.
That, don't go up there, I wouldn't recommend going up there and buying all my material to do all my tables, all my benches, and do my
Do
gazebo,
it.
and everything I want to do all at one time.
Right,
And then you
create
roll
an
in.
invoice for 11 grand.
Yeah, that would not be good.
right, so we'll just.
Not because we're not in favor of it, but just because of the policy and how it's
So
written.
we just have to purchase separately for each project.
Correct.
And keep it under 10.
One.
Now, more specifically to the two versions of the material that Jimmy showed you, I think if you go to the last page of the quote from the hardware store, it's 9,700. I didn't have the official number until just now.
Well, I didn't have it until 4:30 either.
But I think
so-
if we go with the other material, it reduces down by like $900.
Right.
So, we do by more like
And
that.
Andy said because Andy personally hasn't talked to Brian. That's the other issue that we're trying to deal with, is because Brian works in Brownville, which is terrible phone reception. So the 1,152 board feet could change. That could possibly be another savings for us too. Personally, I think if I went to Andy tomorrow and said we need to be up 9,500, I don't think there'd be an issue. I don't want to speak for Andy, but the way I've been dealing with him, I don't think there's an issue. He's been very good, and you can see the breakdown as the highlights of what it normally costs and what he's giving it to us for. I don't know if the highlights show up that way on your paper, but,
Yep.
so,
We won't let it happen.
no, we won't, we definitely would not go over 10,000, no.
We
That's
just won't let it
right.
happen.
Understand? That's why I want to make sure we're all
The
on
other
the
thing I
page.
just want to
and
bring
we're
up too, this is going to be a lot cleaner. This picture really shows it. We're not doing any screws. This is going to be the snap ties, okay? Mike, you must have it, obviously, where you reacted. So you won't see any screws on the decking. So kids can't, if something happened, a screw backing out or whatever, okay? So it's a very clean finish.
I think it's gonna be something the town can be really proud of.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And the only thing I would say about, you were talking about the more expensive product versus the less expensive, and Andy said he would stand behind anything. We don't want to do it twice.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right. Cut corner.
You know, exactly. I mean, if we have to have a builder come back and remove the ones that are warped or whatever they do, what do they do, warp?
Well, where that,
They cup?
yeah, they make, where this hollow spots are in the boards, The board, instead of being flat, kind of does this a little bit.
Oh.
The cupping is, but just the opposite, not as a bowl, but as a
Right.
high spot. So,
But that was based on what that was made 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
15, so-
The problem is with composite material changing so much in the last 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
Today's material is
Oh, yeah.
is probably more advanced than 15 years ago.
Right.
so.
That would be my only thing about saving money up front and then having to have somebody come back and rip it up and put,
Right.
this should be very low maintenance, like Lorna said, the biggest thing you might have to do is clean some cobwebs, bring the pressure washer out. We're gonna build it like it's sitting on water as an example, the stone, that's why we're putting the stone so deep, so that those round pads that hold the pulse like this, basically, are just gonna shift a little bit, and you just take some shimming, that's all it's gonna take. So, I mean, again, it should be very low maintenance that way.
Big enough border around it so the mowing machines don't get too close to hit it and stuff is what we're working on.
yeah, because that is another point, is that when the mowers kick out a rock, it can fracture the,
Well, we're
the-
trying to make it.
Right.
We're
right,
thinking a 6-foot parameter,
Oh. Right, right.
radius around the outside of the
right. And also if you mow in the other direction and kick the stuff away from the gazebo, that's always good too. Okay.
What's the current balance after we had our town meeting?
We
I
had,
don't have that.
I don't have that. 14,286 was what we had transferred from Sangerville days. You
Wait,
had,
wait, wait,
was
wait,
it
wait.
The credit
83?
union gave 1,000.
14,286.
Do you want just total?
Yeah,
For
just,
the whole-
yeah, big number.
So your donations was what, 83,
Yeah.
18, or 13?
I got this one.
And
it's
you
dated,
had
So I don't know.
64 originally,
This is what
roughly,
donations have, right?
that was in there, but then we spent for the
For-
first set, which
But that
was
64 was part of the rec
original rec
reserve,
reserve. Yeah,
and we spent 42 of it.
yeah.
Mm.
That's what I'm getting at.
This is back-
I'd like to discuss the 42.
Well, yes and no, I mean, it's all considered rec reserve now.
Correct. But I mean, before, when we started this year, we had 6,400 in rec reserve.
Yes, after town meeting.
After town meeting.
Correct. That's where and then we added the 83,
And then the 14.
then the
286.
14, and then we spent the 42 out because we knew you had donated money, but we didn't know how to get to it. So that was,
Right.
and we had to pay that bill, which actually we just signed tonight. We just paid that bill.
Couldn't read the name.
So,
Personally, my own opinion, the town's agreed. That's how you guys got this money.
Right.
This has been through everywhere. I'm not worried about the spending of that money, because that money, you guys have already done what you could do to get approval, and that's already said and done. What I personally would like to see is get through the year and end that reserve account with what we had in the spring, the 6,400. Only because we don't know what next year is gonna be, and we don't know what the year ahead is gonna be. And I don't want to,
The 64 though was built over time. It took about 4 years, I'm gonna say
Yep.
4 to 5 years, because we always do, technically, I say technically, but most of the time the town gives 1,000 to that account for the bigger paving the basketball court, the fence project, the backstops, the lightings. We are gonna have to do some lighting next year. I think with what's left, if the town does agree to give more, and again, I'm way out there, I'm only guessing, because things do change, we should be able to do the lighting thing that we need to do on the basketball court. But I don't know how,
And we're not done fundraising.
right, we're not by any means done.
no, but I'm just, that's what,
Right.
when I
Our goal
envision,
is to get our 4,200 fundraised and put back.
Because you're gonna want something to make sure you maintain.
yeah, yeah.
what are we gonna do? What, honest, this is my thought process, Jimmy. When we come to budget season this year, and your budget, your mowing contract is gonna at least double.
Well, that's the other thing that I think we need to discuss anyway, and I don't know if this is the time, but Peter's mowing some of that now too, so I don't know where the break is.
Well, I think that's part of
Right.
part of
I think
another
we need to sit down as
conversation.
myself and tell me, however we need to do that discussion, I agree that you need to, because some of that is being mowed by Peter.
I think it
Should
all.
be, shouldn't it be? I don't know.
I think it all ought to go contractual myself.
Yeah.
I mean, not being against anybody, but when you look at what you're paying your town employees and what we have for mowing equipment,
Yeah.
it's not very feasible to be
No.
paying our hourly rate to ride around on that John Deere ride lawnmower with
Yeah,
a
with the-
mowing deck this big.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
I mean,
But that's all budgetary, really.
But that's where I'm going.
I thought of it, Mike, I know you brought it up the other night when we talked, I don't think it's gonna break the bank that bad. I see maybe $500 to $600 more dollars. Only because you can get it done quicker, because it's more open space versus trying to get in and out the fences and trying to do more around a ball field. And I could be way out there too, I don't know, I really don't know. I've already talked to Jason, I said, I'm not concerned, there's other ways we can maneuver within my overall budget to make that happen and not hurt programming and all that. So, but I mean, yes, it definitely is a concern, so.
Yeah, I mean, the reserve, there are honest ways to look at that reserve account that are not aligned. I mean, some people would look at that as a way to expand the park, and once you get to a critical mass, you add something. Others might look at it and say it's there to maintain that structure. If somebody runs over a fence, we've got some money there to take care of it.
And that's what has happened in the past, we have had some fence issues in the past.
And now we've got this beautiful structure that you're gonna build.
Some other ways that money was spent in gravel in the spring to bring the road back to passable, if you will.
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep doing that so that reserve is important, I
Yeah.
think. You know, dugouts need a new roof, all those sorts of things. So I'm just reluctant to act as though that 4,200 shouldn't be addressed, that's all.
my other concern too that I have though is your committee has worked very hard to do what you guys have accomplished. And to drive by and actually see that not be a stump pile anymore and see it turning into something green and it's going to be nice when it's all said and done, you guys did that. If we take that money out of reserve, right now, that's volunteer, that's everything. And maybe it's petty, but we spend that reserve account up there, you can't say that's volunteer anymore. That's not what you guys did, then it's taxpayer dollars.
But I think we can, you give us time, it's gonna get
Yeah,
replaced before
I
we're
think-
done.
I
I think you'll see that, because our goal is, if you were there the Whoopie Pie Festival, you couldn't even find a place to drive through. I mean,
said
past
forever,
the
we
hat-
ought to have Bloodsucker Beach Festival.
Exactly.
Everybody in the county knows that as Bloodsucker Beach, why not they go to Mosquito Fest, Blackfly Fest.
You've earned something, I
But
think.
there are
I
so
mean-
many ways for us to raise money that can help with the maintenance of that whole area every year, because you have ball games there that we don't pass the hat. Just walk through passing that hat when you have the type of tournaments that were there. We plan to have at least 3 to 4 concerts a year. You're gonna pass the hat. You're gonna come up with funds. Your concession stand, you make all kinds of money from selling concessions there when you have those type of tournaments. So I don't think it's a.
And you could charge, that's what I meant with the power thing. If somebody wants to do something like a family reunion or a class reunion, whatever it may be, they need power, you can turn that switch on. Right now, there's no outside power available down there at all, nothing. Which is fine with me, because that's something else you gotta maintain, take care of. I understand, I know where you're going.
No,
And
and
police.
everything you're saying is an all
Right.
great idea. And so I guess it kind of begs the question, why don't we put the $4,200 back? It sounds like you're gonna find it anyway.
We're working very hard to find it, but I think we have to make sure we continue with all the progress we're making, because in order to go to those funders, we've got to show them how well we're doing.
You've done incredible.
Exactly, and we don't want it to come from taxpayers' pockets. That's our goal, is not to have another thing come from taxpayer pockets.
So,
The
where's our
4,200
numbers right
came
now?
out of the reserve, it didn't come out of general fund. So to put it back, it's already been put back because.
But it's only
Correct.
there because of taxpayer dollars is what I'm saying.
Okay, so just doing the quick math, their bottom line, 17,875. If that's what they spend based on what we have in reserve already, what will be left is 6,924.
So you're already over.
Yeah, we're
If you
fine.
haven't hit your
And
60,
that's-
you can go to, that's what I'm saying.
There
I
you
want to
go.
get this done and I want to be at 6,400.
Correct.
I mean, you can have more than that if you want to, that's great, but I
So
don't
we're
want,
already there. then.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
just,
for
so we're
this-
just,
for
our
these
cautionary
specific
note
projects.
is, yeah, don't dip into that 62 that we started the
And
year
our only
with.
goal is
That's
to
all.
have the field done and to have the gazebo done this year. That was our 2 goals. We've got grants that, Jason and I have been working on trying to get the legal foundation to pay for the fence. You know, we just need Lois to help us sign off on that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, we're asking for what we need to put the fence up. I mean, we're searching for money wherever we can.
No, you guys have done incredible.
That's why I'm,
Yeah.
Right.
no, I don't want to be the one to sit here and say, no, you gotta do
Yeah,
this,
but
you
you
gotta do
guys gotta
that.
remember, you also are the leaders of the town. This whole park is gonna be a reflection of what you've worked with the committee and stuff too to make it happen. So as the leaders, you're sitting there helping us make it happen too. You know, and again, we don't want to touch taxpayer money. That's not what we're here for. We're working very hard.
I think we're in good shape.
Yep.
If
I
don't
I
Lois
see-
think we are too.
Yeah, I don't see anything. That's why,
Yep.
that was my only concern, and it's not there. You're not spending past that.
Just for future, say 5 years from now, we need to do something down there, and it's gonna cost $6,000, and we got 8,000 in that account. Are you gonna let us touch it?
Well, going forward, because now, this is the better part. Because this is gonna end a lot of frustration for you, for us, and for the town. That is all your domain. So next year, whatever you plan to do over there needs to be budgeted, or part of a budget, or brought up as part of a budget to be used out of your reserve account. So that way there, before we even go to, when we go to town meeting, we're gonna have a plan of how much money has to come out of that reserve account.
Well, I can tell you right now, the lights is one of them.
Well,
I'm just saying,
there you go.
but
I
that's
guess
gonna
I'm just
be,
worried, because the way you explained it, Darren, I just want to make sure that we got it covered. The Wells property, I'm just using it for better reference. You're concerned that any reserve or any tax money can't be spent there, and I'm
on this
going to be wrong.
project, on this project, to get this through this year, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
To get this field done,
Okay.
to get this gazebo, that has already been approved, and bloody, bloody, blah. We just moved all of this, now this is all, basically, it's your baby. All of that property falls under the rec department. So when it comes to budgetary next year, is what I'm saying,
Budget for your life.
You're just right, but.
right, if you're not gonna put it in your normal budget, you can, as
Ask
part
the
of your
town for it,
budget,
right.
you need it to come out of your reserve account, you need to spend it that way. That way there, we can be on the proactive side of this and get this taken care of instead of chasing paperwork
Again, I just want
later.
to make sure I understood.
I have no problem spending out of the reserve accounts,
As long as the taxpayers want it.
correct,
Spend it that way.
but I don't like the idea of unbudgeted, unnecessary, you know, not saying unnecessary, but unbudgeted, unplanned, and then wiping one out. It's way better to be proactive about it. Because what I'm afraid of is if, say we wipe that out, then you're gonna go to town meeting next year and you're gonna ask for another 1,000. And I can just see where that's gonna be, could be very
You've worked it
controversial.
out before to less than $100, I've seen it.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, if you wiped it all out because of a project that the townspeople have been said wasn't gonna be taxpayer dollars, that could be an issue for you to get another 1,000 put back in there next year.
I have one question on your list here. You've got pond silt.
Yep.
Did you need driveway gravel and parking lot gravel? Because I don't see that on here. Remember you were telling me, Jason, you were
Right,
going...
right. Well, I think part of the cost and just to see how this would work out, the thinking, or I was told that the pond soap may be good enough, that it's drying out, it's not holding water. So, at worst case, I don't know if we can, but we might substitute it for gravel or something.
Okay.
But he thinks the pond soap will be strong enough to hold up.
Okay.
Because it's just gonna be a parking area, it's not gonna be like the shoulder of the road and all that. We thought we would just wait on that and see how it all kind of turns out.
We might have to get some gravel for the walkway before they catch a pipe thing, but we have looked up some prices on that, but we're shopping around.
Do we need to officially do anything?
Well, I'm
Well, I
looking
think-
to you for, as these items come to, is there a way for us to essentially allow you to work with them, and as these items come due, you can pay them?
Yeah, just approve this list of...
So it may be over the course of the summer that all this happens, but it's, rather than coming back next meeting and approving another
Oh, no, just
800.
approve this, this projected expenses for
This is
their
where we want to be
project.
For the end of this
Exactly.
year. This should get us right where we want it to end this year, Mike, to be 100% honest with you.
Maybe if you make some sort of a motion to authorize the town manager to do what you're just saying.
Yeah, as long as we don't exceed those numbers, you guys have done a very thorough job here. I mean, I'm not going to attempt to second guess any of it, so.
We appreciate that.
You've gotten so much donated, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Good, I like
Very
that.
motivated
I like
group.
that.
Speaking of donations, we did have a donation come in today that's probably worth a couple $1,000s. As some of you may be aware, when we were going through the digging process, we came across this big piece of granite stone. It's kind of cut out on the bottom and it's kind of curved like a N, I guess, like a lowercase n. So we thought it'd be kind of cool at first to put the bronze plaque on it, but then after investigating it, the plaque, after water tends to get behind it if the rock is not professionally smooth, kind of like a headstone. So they don't recommend using the plaque on an unpolished stone. So, but going through that process, we realized the cost to engrave the letters is like $50 to $60 per letter. So when you put in Sangerville Veterans Memorial Park, it gets pretty pricey. Plus, you can't bring the rock to their
Right.
to their
They have
site.
to do it
So
on
there's
site.
a fee to come on site to do that. So that was coming up to over $2,000. But we're glad today the gentleman Eric Ennis down in Dover, the Piscataquis Monuments. He basically said if we buy the sand, which is $400 to $500, he would donate the labor to do the engraving for us.
The sand for the blasting?
For the blasting.
For the blasting.
Yep. So.
Has he seen your stone yet?
Yeah, he came over, he checked it out. We got to do a few things. Obviously, we're going to dig the trench and put it in the ground and pressure wash it so it's all ready for him to go, all the prep. But he's willing, he made the offer. Now, just as a committee, we got to agree on what we want it to be exactly, the date or on it, or whatever we need to come to. But that is something that came in today, and again, it's probably a couple $1,000 worth of
Wow.
time and effort.
Very good, very good.
So perhaps, I don't know, next week or the following week, we might bring that to you to buy the sand to pursue that.
Is there any way we can make a motion that they can spend the donated funds and not to lessen the reserve account below $6,400, and then they don't have to come back to us? Right? I mean,
I thought we were there, but.
You can, yes. So you mean if they get more donations?
Sure.
Can they,
they
can make
then
that?
they can
They can, right.
you can spend it
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah.
because you're spending donated funds. You're
Right.
not spending tax
Right.
funds.
Not to exceed the original
And we-
balance of the
This, yeah,
recreation
not to
reserve.
lessen the value of the reserve lower than, or however, the
Not to
60
touch-
Balance, right, right.
the
right.
6,400.
Yeah.
Whatever we started the year with.
Yeah, whatever that was.
6345?
Does that work better?
Right here.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
So they can spend all donated funds in the Sangerville days,
Which we
which we knew.
just accomplished at the special. So-
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
What it's gonna cost for the gazebo is
Leaving.
more than what was the Sangerville days.
Right,
But the
but they've gotten their
also-
donation.
No, I understand that, but this is my other thing is, you wanna spend this money accordingly, because how are we gonna do that? Because you took, basically it was tax dollars, which was approved, to put into this, to be used for the gazebo.
Right.
And then you have donated funds.
Doesn't-
So
You don't differentiate though once it's in the reserve.
that's all I wanna make sure of, that's what I'm saying, is because
I know.
I don't want to have to do that later. I wanna make sure that when we're done, we're done. I don't wanna have somebody say, oh, you spent all this, but you spent, you know what I mean? I just want it clean.
But it was never officially voted on, I don't want to speak for the committee, but the taxpayer thing, using some of the reserve, I'm not saying all of it or part of it, it was never officially voted on to not use any of it. I mean, I think it was just,
Any of the original recreation reserve?
right. I mean, it can be a goal of the committee, but I don't think it was ever stipulated that none of the reserve could be used.
Oh, the original
but-
no, that's me. That's not vote, that's my suggestion. That's what I would like to see us end up at. That's nothing to do with a vote, or, that's my own opinion.
No, there was no, there was no discussion. The request was to take this bucket of money and move it over to rec to buy a gazebo, and they approved that. That was all.
I mean, I think we need a little flexibility, because it does take time to raise the money. I mean, just to have.
You're already
the
not near
ability to
that,
do-
you're not near that number, Jason.
What's that?
You're not
Well,
near.
if we go over to the Lieber Foundation, we have a detailed forecast of all the expenses.
Okay, but now you just keep adding, though, is what I'm saying. I wouldn't worry about adding, I would worry about getting done what we got done.
It- you got a lot here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, if you run out of money, I'm not saying you cannot come back and try to persuade me. I'm just saying, that's, for right now, that's what I'm telling you, is what I would personally like to have. That's me, nobody's voted on nothing yet either, so.
I'm leaning that way too. Just because I went through the budgetary process 2 years in a row, and I don't want to deplete that account. And we're adding, we've got more structures there and more investment, and I'd like to leave that account intact. Now, when we get to the budgetary part, and you come to us with a proposal, certainly that's part of everything we have to work with, so. But I remember the original conversation around that field, and that was basically, you guys can do what you want as long as you don't spend any town money. And you've done a lot without spending town money. I mean,
If you look at in-kind donations,
Right,
just.
we're
Oh.
over 110,000, 106,000.
Jeez, that's incredible.
it's incredible.
It is.
Well,
And
I
it
still do
shows-
that one day and watch dump truck after dump truck.
And the other side of it is you're bringing the community together instead of us going.
They were clearly excited about, when you proposed this thing at the meeting, it went through
Yeah.
amazingly.
I mean, you've seen people down there that you never see picking rocks on a rainy Saturday morning with us too.
Right, right,
Right.
Right.
No, all good.
And that's good. That's what it's all about.
All right,
So, how do we word this motion?
I make a motion to allow the rec department to spend all donated funds for the multi-purpose field and to build the gazebo as needed, not to lessen the reserve account
6345.
to 6345.
And author
And to
Also-
authorize-
And authorize the town manager to,
Sign those.
To,
Work with them and oversee.
Correct.
allow.
right.
yes. And that should take care of current donations and
Donations in the
Future
future
donations.
donations.
through this
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would
Next
second
year
that.
is next year, so.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, because it could take us a while to generate some money. And I understand what they're saying too, you're kind of double-edged sword.
Is this a discussion?
Not for,
Oh,
we have a motion.
okay.
Second.
Mike seconded.
Yes.
Are we voting?
Yeah, let's, you guys are good.
We'll make it.
You've done a great job.
Like I said, I mean,
That-
if you have to come back,
Have one, right here. it's
try
right
to
here.
talk me into it. I mean, but
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, did you want to touch on this a
Yeah,
little
the
bit?
Lever Foundation, I think we need to go through the application. We were told in order to apply for grants, we need select board approval. So the Lever Foundation was, most people now know, but the Lever Foundation was created when the ex-wife of a founder of Intel divorced him and got all this money, so now she's a big philanthropist. She does everything in Maine, only to nonprofits in the town, I guess. So they're based out of Portland. So they meet 4 times a year, the traditional quarters, March, or I guess, next month. So basically, by August 15th, we have to submit our application. In September, they have their quarterly board meeting. They go through all the applications. They will say who gets what, and then they contact you the following week. So this is really nice because other places where you get grants, it's like once per year, and it takes like 3 months later, so you don't know if you can count on the money, budget, or, it becomes very cumbersome, I guess. So we try to put together an application, so we can go down through it real quick, but the town is Centerville, year founded 1814, Lois helped us with some of the stuff with the taxes and certificates. What we're trying to say here is our project is to redevelop land acquired in 2014 adjacent to the existing rec fields to include multi-use field and community gazebo. The request is to purchase 1,000 feet of fence to protect the newly redeveloped area. That will be the central part of the community and host location to events for all ages. We're asking for $13,500. Again, we know this could go under bid if we get awarded the money. This will specifically, the funds are needed to erect the 1,000 feet of a vinyl white fence, split rail fence with 2 gates, and they'll be around the whole thing. We hope to have the field done by September. We can get into the specifics. We said the area is Greater Scottsbluff County, Southern Penobscot, again, our thinking is when there's rec events, especially all these towns listed, Sangerville, Guilford, Abbott, Parkman, Greenville, Dexter, Dover, Milo, Corinth, all those people come here. So there's a lot of people that can come, and will expand the park. So they come here to a game or whatever, and they're like, hey, next time let's go up here and go fishing. Or did you know Guilford had Sangerville had this stuff. So through that, and then the number of people, we projected 4,500. Again, that's kind of more based on the rec games. We have like so many home games, and if every kid had 3 people come on average, so many people on this, kind of this extrapolation. We have another detail sheet. We think our total project is about $106,000. And then on the next page is kind of like the town manager with a test that everything's okay. Here on page 3 is a picture of the fence we would propose. Now this is really comparing to cedar fencing for the most part. So the white vinyl split rail would be an 8-foot section with 2 rails. Now underneath the vinyl, there's actually the same type of posting that goes in the ground as a chain link fence, but it has a vinyl insert that goes around it to make it look like a 4x4 post. It has a much longer lifespan than compared to the traditional cedar. It's low annual maintenance. The posts don't tend to move as much with the frost compared to the cedar posting.
Because it's smaller.
We're going to go with white because the other ones have other colors, like the brown stuff, they tend to fade. And so you get some areas that are in the sun more than other areas. Well, over time will look different. The big thing is no splinters. We know kids are going to walk along the rails, just kids being kids. Obviously with a chain link fence, you don't have that, but with this, they can already tell it's probably going to happen. And I think the overall sentiment of the committee was to provide this area a different feel, more like a park with the fencing versus the chain link fence would be more rec field. So we think the white split rail will give us that feel better. And so, again, this is why we're going to ask for the grant. Obviously, this area is kind of in the hotbed with Lieber right now. So you can see the quote from Quebec Fencing. He gave us 2 quotes, one for the wood. The 616 would be primarily over the multi-use field, and the 400 would be more over the lower section. It's not as much of a difference as I thought. I think a lot of the cost is installation, but on average, it's about $105 per 8-foot section is what it more or less translates to. So we went with the vinyl. We went with the best. If you go to the next page, it looks like this. This is a summary of our expenses. So we have 2 columns and a total. So what we try to do is track all the in-kind, or based on what we just talked about, this may be a little different now. The town reserves, the 6346 and the 14 are the 2 reserves. In-kind contract labor, there's another sheet that supports these front numbers. So we're up to like 35 and 18. So we're up to like total of 53. We did an estimate if we were to hire a bulldozer to do all the time that Butch has done that on the town bulldozer, just those hours would be about 11 grand.
At least, yeah.
Peter and those guys have been, help us with some miscellaneous things here and there, burn brush and whatever. It's about $2,500. And then our cash donations of $8,318. So in the 2 columns, you can see right now we have about $96,000 sort of in donations, cash, in-kind labor, in-kind materials that have been given to us. When you look at expenses, you can see we're down, well, including the fencing, we'll be at 106. So, we obviously if we get the grant, then we'll be okay. So the narrative, you guys can read that, but it kind of goes on to say what it is. The next page here is 2 sides. One side is more of the park and the field side. This side is more of the gazebo. But in this section, you can see some of the expenses that we anticipate. And all those numbers kind of match the front sheet. The next page is the tracking of our in-kind donation. So we got an invoice from our primary donor, Brian Howard, who's the owner of Gordon Contracting, for $29,300. And that will be donated. So here's the invoice. So we haven't got an invoice for the lower section because we haven't done it, but we estimated it would be similar to a little bit less than this because there won't be some steps that we need because the grade won't be quite as important as on the soccer field. And then we, just for the people at the application, doing the application, we try to add some more color for them, like some of the pictures from the gazebo and the back page, or this is a picture when the Masons gave us their check for $1,500. The drawing here, and also the page that was presented in the town annual report. So our request is that you would authorize us to submit the application. Yeah, and be able to sign in, apply for the funds, and see if we get it. And then if we do receive it, allow us to, go with the fencing.
My only recommendation, because I used to be a dealer for that fencing, is just double check the grade of what you're buying. Because that stuff varies a lot. And the longevity of it varies greatly on the grade.
Morris has done the credit union fencing, the one that we have in Dexter has been there for 14 years.
I know, but my concern, honestly,
Make sure we get the same.
well, because of just what Jason said.
Right.
You're gonna have kids climbing on it and everything out, and that lesser grade will not take kids climbing on it. It'll crack, it'll pop it apart.
Can it take a week, Charm?
The good grade can, yes. The small, the lesser expensive material, mowing the lawn, if it sends a rock into it, it's gonna put a hole in it. But if you get, if, for, you know what I mean, if what he's offering you is the better material, then it's very durable and it'll hold up. So that's my only word of advice, is to make sure what you're getting.
I think the fence we had a warranty on it for so many years, too. I can't recall specifically what it was.
They all do, but that's what,
Right.
one will hold up to rocks, one won't, and that's not usually part of warranty, that's owner negligence, is how they clean that off, that's all.
As far as applying for this grant, are there any?
There's no long-term restrictions, no, the only compliances is once it's done, we take a picture and we send in the invoices to make sure it adds up to what we requested. We would have to double check to see if any differential, if maybe has to be done, I don't know. But there's no long-term commitment, like other grants, when you apply for the next 20 years, you have to do all
something.
kinds of stuff. Yeah. We didn't want all those strings, so
And this has no matching funds.
no matching funds, it's, basically,
But if they can see what we've already done,
Right.
as
Right.
far as in kind, they're gonna know that
Right.
we've already done.
You got some skin in the game.
Exactly.
Well, and not only that, to have the Libra Foundation in Monson, now in Dover, to have them see anything that our town's doing with a very large vacant building that we would like to have a home for, I would love to have the Libra Foundation have some piece or knowledge of this town on a positive note.
Besides being a drive-through town. 'Cause
Correct.
right now, that's all we are is drive-through.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion?
Can you send a picture of the
Just
building
to
with
allow
it?
it to-
Just-
yeah.
So I make a motion that we allow the town manager to assist them with this grant application.
Second?
Also, there is a list of board members, that was one of the requirements. So
Yes.
I'm sure that was kind of towards the end. So you put the three of you.
Names out there, Dale.
And second.
Trust me.
Not address.
Those in favor?
Thank you.
That's a lot of work there.
Anything else?
I think we've got it covered. Appreciate your time.
No, we did
We do appreciate
we did
it.
all this correctly, I think,
Yeah,
I hope.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we certainly all tried to, we'll see what happens.
Well, and I just hope everybody understands that. That was the sole purpose. Everything we've been trying to do was to move us forward in the positive way, not to hinder or slow you guys down. It was just get everything in line, so now it's...
If you
can
dip
go
into the
forward.
wrong bucket, the phones just light up. So hopefully, like I said, we all tried, we'll see what happens.
And I think the town is recognizing a lot of what's going on. I mean, when we had the contractors meeting, you had 6 or 7 contractors that all came together.
Yeah.
And they're all sitting there volunteering, and then they all show up at the field. You don't usually see that in Sangerville lately, but I think it's starting to change. And the people down there picking rocks, and they're starting to come together. I think if we can get at least one concert in this year, then we want to do like a trunk or treat with the kids during Halloween season, because going forward to get grants, we need to show that there's being community use of that field as well. So, we're trying to get 2 to 3 events in before the year ends so that we can start looking for bathroom facilities, I think is the next big project for us to come up with funds for that, so.
I'm not gonna doubt you.
One thing that I would recommend and I would like to see, and I mean, yes, I joke about calling it Bloodsucker Fest, but I would like, Guilford is utilizing that Riverfest. You know, Milo's doing it, Dover's doing it. Now Dexter's got Hot Dog Fest. You know, why can't, especially with the new field and the gazebo and everything that's going on, why can't we have something like that for a yearly event?
I don't know if yearly, you know, I think people wear out very quickly if you're
Yeah.
doing it yearly, but if you did something biannually, you know, every other year.
Anything for a start.
Exactly. And I think the concerts are gonna be a huge start. You know, my goal is the first night is we're inviting the contractors and we're serving up burgers and hot dogs to everybody that's there and, you know, so that we're saying thank you to them at the concert, so.
Yeah, what we were kind of thinking, just somewhat together and a little bit individually, was Pirate Rec hosts like a big round robin of soccer. So all those towns come in, so there's like hundreds of kids, and we have like 20 soccer games. So now, if the grass grows fast enough and everything, we're going to push our schedule for home games a little bit later into the soccer season, so that we could perhaps do something like that. So maybe that would be a good like grand opening of the gazebo and all that, and do the barbecue and all this kind of stuff. But that's something we're kind of brainstorming, I guess.
It's all good. It's wonderful. It really is.
All right, we're gonna move on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Road committee.
They didn't present me with anything, but I did talk with Rich Doherty this morning, and he just has some concerns about culvert replacements, and he's going to meet with me next week, and we'll go around, and he said he's been looking at culverts with an engineer, and the engineer says the majority of them seem to be okay as far as the culvert and its setting, not that it needs to be replaced. And I said, you know, if you're talking about the ones on French's Mills, the biggest thing that we were looking at was just making sure the paving was leveled out to get rid of the divots.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah,
we weren't worried about replacing.
If they're not collapsed in the hole,
Right,
Right.
they're
but if they are
viable.
collapsed, then there's another story.
So, he did meet with somebody. He didn't tell me who the engineer was that he was working
He
with. But
called me last night and he said it was somebody through DOT, it was their culvert expert. He didn't seem very positive about Phil and whatever opinions we got from him, who was also a DOT expert. So here you have it, you have two different DOT experts that
You
are
have
telling
two
us two
different
completely
things.
different things.
Right.
So it's
Right.
no different than when you talk to 5 contractors and
Yeah.
they tell you 5 different things.
Well, and I said that to him, and I told him that when we did these bids, I went out with every contractor. I said, and every contractor, we had a discussion about, you know, this or this or this.
Oops, thank you.
And, you know, like he was concerned that driveway culverts were going to be put in, and they're not. There's some there that's not. I said, that's not even in the bid. And I said, we didn't have any discussion with that. He said, okay. So he did voice a concern about the ethics policy and bidding, contractors bidding, and
Yeah,
the last
you did
thing.
bring that to my attention.
Right,
yeah.
It does look like that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and the last thing just escaped me. It derailed.
The other thing that was brought to my attention was that, or concern, was the bid. And what the, make sure, you can hear me, right? So I want to make sure you're representing the road committee, so I want to make sure you hear what I'm saying.
Let me back up.
The road committee would like to see the bid to have the inaccuracies written so that it's in writing what the contractors are bidding on. So the right amount of gravel, the specific culverts, have all of that written out, exactly what we are asking for bidding.
Absolutely.
And then, so that way they're verbally, whatever was said to one, if we get it on paper the proper way,
Right.
so that all the contractors all see the same information and nobody can say that you told one this and you told somebody else that.
Right.
So that was the only thing that really, I think you guys really, that was the biggest thing you wanted, right?
Right.
Or suggested.
Yeah.
That, and they want the key, They had the meeting last night on Butchie's truck because nobody knew to come get the key.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh,
It was a nice evening.
no. Advisory, that was the
Oh,
other thing that Rich was saying, was that he needed to stress that they are an advisory committee. And he stressed that to the committee.
That committee's pretty new, so
Right.
it all makes sense.
No, but the other thing too is, yes, they are an advisory committee, but we are looking for their recommendation. And I know,
Right.
actually, in speaking of that, I reached out to Rick Pellerin, and I was very busy. Honestly, I shouldn't have called him because I didn't even have time, but I called him and told him I only had 2 seconds. I didn't want to bother him, and I didn't want him to answer me. But I basically begged him to please reconsider him not being a part of the road committee. That I really felt, with his history of the town and his knowledge of what's happened in the past, and that he's always been a part of that committee,
Right.
that I really wish he would, we'd reconsider and be a part of that. He mentioned how he is very busy and stuff, and I said, well, I said, I understand that. I said, I'm not recommending that you miss all kinds of meetings, but if something happened and you couldn't attend to a meeting, at least if you're part of the committee, you're getting the minutes, you're being informed, and you can still help us keep things moving positive. So,
On
He's-
another note, I had emailed Brian Howard and asked him if he wanted to be
Oh,
on the
okay.
road committee, and he is considering it as well.
okay, yep.
Did both of you get an opportunity to read the ethics policy?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you see a potential
Yes.
conflict there?
Yeah, my question was, not to be on my phone and be a jerk, but I didn't print it.
Oh, I should have made a copy.
No, I just
No.
took it, I just screenshotted what I wanted. But what I saw that I didn't, for my concern, I guess, would be, see section 7, ethics and contracting. So then when we go to 7.1, section A.
Page 7.
Oh,
Correct.
Yep, yep,
okay,
yep.
I got a
yep,
picture.
Yep.
The very first sentence, it shall be a violation of this policy for any person to offer, give, or agree to give any town official or town employee. That's where I think our problem is. Because if up above the description of a town official is any committee member.
Correct.
Correct.
So what my thought, and I don't know if this is possible, can we add a word to this policy? I would like to add the word paid.
Paid town official or paid town employee?
No,
Well,
paid town official,
if-
because
if you
we
do
are
that-
paid.
If
Oh,
you do
please.
that, you exclude all of the other structure that this policy provides to include only people that are paid. And I don't think that's really the intent of this policy. This policy, this ethics policy applies to every committee member currently.
Correct.
If you change that, it will not apply to any of them.
I'm changing it upon the bidding part,
So
this part as well. I didn't say
Well,
change
this-
the definition of a town official.
it looks like there may be another procedure here, and that's a disclosure of conflict. And there's actually a form
Yep.
where it may be possible for us to, we have a committee member who's a contractor who might occasionally bid for something, historically has. It specifically says if it exceeds $1,000, which is obviously
Got it, yeah.
nothing.
Right.
But I'm wondering if we might be able to accommodate him through this.
This.
Disclosure.
I thought you actually had to put a dollar value. That's why I didn't think that would work.
It just says if he exceeds this, then you would need this. And we
That's-
expect that he might, if he's gonna bid anything.
So any committee member, when you get onto a committee, if you're saying we could have them fill that out up front, and that
Well,
should-
that's a question. If that may suffice. I'm thinking what we might want to do is submit our policy along with our circumstance to MMA and get her opinion. Okay? Because these people are volunteering. We don't want to
Well,
get
that
them in
was-
trouble.
Right.
Because they're
That's my thought process of a town official. When I say an ethic, you know what I mean? You're asking for town people to volunteer,
Right.
but at the same time, the beginning of our policy says we're not gonna discriminate. Well, we are discriminating. We're saying if you volunteer to help us,
You can't.
we're not gonna let you do any work for our town.
Right.
So to me,
Well, and
that's discriminating.
No, I think that, yeah, there's a way to do this though. There's definitely a conflict of interest if you're voting on items that could enhance you
And I
financially.
think that's where it comes in, is in the voting aspect, where
Correct.
he's not in this
But
arena.
that's why I was thinking if you go along with the town, with the paid side of it, because all of our committees are advisory.
Correct, and they don't get to vote on any expenditure.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying is, that's where, well, that was my
And
thought
I'm
process to
hoping
switch it to,
MMA
if this
sees
works,
that
I'm
and
happy
says-
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
that'd
MMA
be
sees
good.
that and says, yeah, no, that should work,
Right.
then, because he doesn't have the authority to vote on any contractor.
Well, no member of any committee
Correct,
has that authority.
correct.
That's how I was viewing it. Why are we penalizing our volunteers?
But there definitely is a potential for conflict of interest. It needs to be disclosed in advance according to this policy, which is all fine. It's just, we're all kind of green as
But
grass.
if you're not, if you're,
The policy.
if you're a volunteer, I don't really that's why I'm saying, I just think it's,
Once you're a committee member and you're sworn in,
That's
you fall
right,
under this
that's
ethics
right,
policy.
that's right.
And I don't have a problem with that. I think that all makes sense. I think there's a remedy here. I hope there's a remedy here. Because I'd hate to see.
if this doesn't work, that's what I would try to see, if we move it, so it's
Yeah, if
they're
she comes
bidding
back,
under the bidding part of it, or the contractual, if we can just change that to paid.
without
because-
undercutting the entire policy.
Correct. I
Right,
don't want to jeopardize the policy. All I want to do is fix that one piece, because I can definitely see where, Mike and his nice pretty John Deere tractor is going to take over roadside mowing and beat me and Jody up if we didn't.
I would never buy a John Deere.
I know that. Trust me.
No, but for example,
I bought a John Deere. That's why.
if the town wanted help with investments, I could help the town with investments, but not get compensated.
Correct.
So that's the difference.
Right.
So and that same is true of committee members. I'm not expecting him not to bid on anything. We just want to make sure that we don't put him in an uncomfortable situation.
Right.
Correct.
So I say we table this and let the town manager do a little research for us.
Yep. One more thing to make sure it's right,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
as always.
That's,
Anything
wait.
else with that? With road committee? No?
Well, kind of, sort of. Well, actually,
All right, go ahead.
no, you got it under road commissioner, so I'll let you go.
Well, I only have, I had 2 letters from the state. We have some missing guardrails. I don't know if, every year, the state inspects every bridge in the state. And the
This is-
towns, when you get
Town
bad
by town,
things
wait a minute.
in your,
Well, the snow-
This is right by his house.
oh, is it?
Yeah,
If you get bad things, I mean, it typically is called a bad bridge letter.
correct.
And so I have 2 bad bridge letters.
B
Uh-oh.
B squared.
Yes.
Jeez.
And
That's bad.
ours are easy because ours are simply,
No, ours aren't easy. You think they are. I'm gonna
well, it says
complicate.
guardrails.
I know. I'm gonna complicate that for you.
Says French's Mill Bridge, and they actually, every bridge is numbered, so we know which bridge number it is.
Okay, this
It's
is
5930. It says cable guardrail has several broken posts.
yeah.
Should replace with functioning guardrail system. So here's theirs, and they give us this
Just
nice
1 second.
20-page with
Yeah,
pictures.
call them right up and reference your little bad bridge letter and ask them to please come up and fix those guardrails that they were supposed to fix when they gave the bridge back to the town. They did one side of the road, they didn't do the other.
When was that?
Good question. Don't know. I don't know the date.
That bridge?
You
The one
remember
with
that?
So your assertion is that they gave it back to us in an incomplete.
Correct. They were supposed to do the other side. The French's Mill Stream Culvert Bridge, the state did the guardrails on one side, they never did the other side before they gave it back.
Well, we ordered 200 and something feet. The truck came, I was there, it was only 125 feet. So the boss in Bangor said it was okay to have 250 feet or whatever it was. The guy in Waterville overruled him, said 125 feet. But we didn't know that until everything came. That was back 6 years ago.
All
6
right.
years ago.
2001.
That's why you got these guys around.
Yeah,
I got something to add to that. This past winter, the wing of the snowplow, the new side, if you go look at the top of the
Yeah,
guardrail, they
yes,
put the wing down on that, and they hit them several times over. I know, because my house is right there.
And you
They
heard it.
stopped their truck a couple times.
Whoa.
Take a look at some of those beams, the wood ones and the metal ones, they are bent,
Yeah.
and some of them are broken, big time. So,
well,
Would that be Chris?
how long do you have to correct a bad bridge letter?
It depends on what's wrong with it.
Okay.
This could go on
If it's
forever,
a-
now it's their fault.
If it's a really,
Is there
really
an appeals
bad bridge-
process and all that, or?
No,
I
they
mean, we want-
they just send
it
you
needs
a
to be
bad
fixed.
bridge
It
letter
actually
every
is
year.
dangerous.
Yes, it does. It does need to. I mean, that's why they send it to you.
I know the past thought process is use telephone poles up behind the town garage, and they were gonna drill and put
No.
those in, and I'm just telling you, this
That
was
was-
our thought process in the past of how we were gonna remedy the situation.
I know
Was put those in
notification,
and cut them off.
in some cases, notification carries an increased liability. Does that happen to us when we get this letter?
Not really on this. They state here, the bridge and guardrail deficiencies should be addressed as soon as practical
Should be.
to ensure continued safe use of the bridge. Neglect of these deficiencies may result in a diminished function of the bridge through load posting and even closure. So that's what they would do. They would come back next year, and if you didn't have it done, I mean, they'll give you a few years to get it done, but they will come back and you'll get slapped and they'll say, we have to close this road or until
This,
you
honestly, this is
repair."
something we've known needed to be done. This isn't new.
Right.
You officially now have a letter, but
What was the second bridge?
The second one is Colby Bridge. It's number 5678, and it is on French's Mills
It's on French's Mills, it's up the other direction. I walked by it yesterday.
over Colby Brook.
Yeah.
And the
They call
cable
that a bridge?
guardrail has several
where it is?
broken posts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same
The
thing.
big gray farmhouse with the black lab that hangs out the yard.
Yeah.
It's the bridge right after his house.
Did you notice it?
I never
I
knew
noticed
this.
it, I walked
You did?
down in that direction yesterday and I noticed that and it's like, wow, this one's bad too.
I never noticed there was another bridge over
And,
there.
mean,
I thought it was all
if a
culverts
car
other
were to
than
ever
that
go
one
off
by
the
you.
road on
It's a
either
big
one of
culvert.
those.
They could.
would be
Yeah,
no
they have
prevention.
pictures of the culverts if you want to see them.
I do, only because I'm
I want to see.
just not really, still not figuring it out.
That one is the Colby Bridge, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's pretty deep. It
That's
is deep.
pretty
It's
good
like a
size.
ravine type thing.
You can look at the
It's gotta
whole
be a 6 or 8
report.
foot.
There are other
I mean,
pictures
that's
in the
big.
report.
That one, there's no question, it's our problem.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that one's,
So, and when you and I were with Phil, he had a resource for this. Like,
and I've already contacted
not
Maine
pictures.
DOT, and they sent me a link of listings of guardrail people.
specialists.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just haven't had time to.
Actually, when you talk to the head of our road committee tomorrow, seeing how he works on the bridge department of DOT, why don't you see if he might be able to help us out a little bit?
Yeah, they were, I think you built the one that was on the Silver Mill Road that we just repaired. I think he was part of that crew.
Oh, yeah, by Brockville.
That thing looks
Yeah.
huge, these
Yeah.
pictures.
It does.
You'd swear you could drive your truck through there.
You
You can.
Yeah,
I've walked through that.
You have?
Yeah, well, our
The
culvert.
one by his house.
Yeah,
is
Yeah, I knew
really
that one
bad.
was big, but
It's, yeah, there's non-existent.
Moves a lot of
this
water.
is the one that's by his house.
Wow, wow.
I had a
Oh, yeah,
picture,
that's dangerous.
somebody just gave us from
That's
Colorado.
where the old mill
They
was.
lived there in the 50s when
That's
water
the
was-
French's Mills.
Oh.
It was huge,
Wow.
before they handed it.
Uh-huh.
Why do they give us all these
Yeah.
papers that we don't care?
I
We
would
just
love
want to see
listen that
pictures.
sound all the time.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I like, well, UTV's doing it, but yeah.
Which one is it? Is that the
That's not
same?
gonna be
French's
Yes, I had a bad bridge
That's
letter in
good.
Bradford, and the bridge guy came out and he said, if you do this and this and this, I
No,
can
it's
extend the
covered,
use
so.
of this bridge for up to 7 years,
Mm.
maybe.
That's awesome.
It was spalling inside,
Wow.
the wing walls were terribly spalling, and
Concrete.
the lime, I was getting icicles
Yeah,
underneath because it was a concrete culvert.
Yeah, this is ours.
And I was like, okay, how much is that gonna cost to
Great.
replace?
Yeah.
250,000.
Yeah, look at
But yeah, that's.
And when they pave that road, they can't put any pavement
Did we
on
have
it.
to take it?
Yeah, I think
So
so.
you can-
Yeah, because this bridge culvert now is ours, right? This isn't a DOT thing anymore?
That's why we get them, yeah.
So just because,
Anything 20 feet or greater is state, less than 20 feet is town.
so not to be stupid, but when you see pictures like that with the whole bottom of that culvert to the concrete starting to rot out, is there any, or should we do any preventative painting or something?
I don't think you can because of contamination to the water.
Oh,
They used to line those with tar.
They paint bridges. I don't know, I'm just,
yeah, that might be another question.
like,
Pro-
that's really the worst picture.
Yeah.
One you're gonna see it in.
That's
why
that would be a good question to ask. Proactively try to stay ahead of that.
Well, if you could make that last a few more years,
That would be,
that's gonna be a huge cost when it
that's gonna
comes
be
time.
expensive.
So we'll revisit it when you've got some more information. On to new business, abatements.
We have 2 abatements. Both people, homestead exemption was omitted in error. Yep,
In error.
yep, in error.
So that goes to Hamlin. Hamlin says it was our fault?
Well, it was their fault.
Yeah,
Hamlin's
their
fault,
Right,
yes.
that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And these came from Hamlin, so.
Okay.
I also have another person that I've got to do a little bit more research. I think there's nothing I can do, but he's purchased and he signed a couple of days before April 1st, which anything tax related, April 1st is a diehard date. Whoever owns it on April 1st owns it. But his deed was not recorded until May. So is the purchase date, the actual signing, I mean, that to me is ownership.
That's legal.
It is legal because if there's a deed out there, you know there's a deed out there, it doesn't matter if it's recorded, it's still legal, it's a legal deed. But he was looking for his homestead exemption and he did not get a homestead exemption. And if he didn't file it before April 1st, then he doesn't qualify. He says he did. Hamlin says he does not have that and we do not have that. So,
We missed ours the first year because we didn't ask in time.
Correct.
Yep.
yeah.
It happens.
So
I bet he asked
think
next
it's-
year in time.
Yeah. Yeah. The one biggest issue that I have is we don't even have possession of our homestead exemption applications. Hamlin has them right now. And I'm not sure they were in the office, but then he took them sometime this spring and they have not been returned.
On
Homestead
Hamlin's?
applications?
I don't know, maybe not. There are some forms on there.
Blank forms or,
I think so.
I had to go to Hamlin to get mine. The town manager then Ken said, call Hamlin, and I
Yep.
did, and they took care of it, but that was
Right.
the process.
you want a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? Favor? Unanimous? I did speak along the line, I had a neighbor who was affected by the escrow issue, and he was
Oh.
very appreciative that we
Ah.
finally got that fixed.
Very
so.
good. So-
I know I brought it up in the past, but I just don't want anybody to forget. I do want to have that conversation about how, if it's possible, and how could we bring tax assessing back to the town. I know we have a lot on our plate, that's why I just keep bringing it up, just so we don't forget about it, but the
Well,
year is flying by at the same
I
time,
know
so.
that, well, I looked at, in one of these warrants, their contract goes until the end of March.
Yep.
Which is fine. I know we've talked about it, I know of a CMA right now that is looking for a town, and he's a small independent, he does well. It's a possibility.
Something to entertain.
That's what,
Something to
honestly, that's,
entertain.
I mean, right
Yeah,
now in
just
my
keep it-
mind, it's a
keep going.
thought.
The
Yeah.
I would
only-
like to see some numbers,
The only biggest thing that you're going to see is he'll be cheaper. You're going to pay a little more in Trio because you have to get the full package.
Oh,
Because Hamlin
right.
uses a different package, they don't use Trio. And then it will take some time to input that information.
Is there any other advantages for the town if we get full trio, other than that?
The full package, or
Yes.
the full real estate package?
Yep. I mean, is there another benefit to have that in-house?
Yeah, we have the answers.
Right, and then over time, I mean,
Well, particularly if we talked about doing some of our own.
I mean, I have my own
police-
thought, I'm not really, I'm just making sure what I'm thinking is
What happens
correct.
is this particular agent, or a different kind of agent, you know, as an individual versus a company, they come into the office, they're there on a scheduled day when townspeople can meet with them and they can answer questions. We don't have to say, well, you have to call Hamlin, you have to go to Hamlin, you have to,
So we had Litchfield, it's better.
so it is. It's better
Does
for the
does it give us
townspeople.
more control?
Yeah.
Because I just feel, I don't know, I'm not trying to badmouth or say, but my honest feeling is I think there's a lot of property and tree growth with little camps on it that we're not getting that tax valuation for. I know twice gone out on rides and you find brand new camps on nice lots that aren't getting that, you know, there's no tax value there.
Right.
So if having this upgraded trio made it easier for us to police these things, that might be an added benefit.
Right.
We don't know that, but it could possibly, with that in Google Earth.
Right. I just think that, you know, I think that's the hidden savings. It's not what you're gonna pay as far as the difference between a check we write to Hamlin's compared to a check we're gonna write to do this in-house.
Right.
I think the added savings is all these abatements that we may not have to sign in the future, that would be more accurate, and
That's right.
a lot more in valuations that we're gonna have. Maybe not, but
I think it's more oversight of the agent.
I
But
just personally
that would
don't
be
like
the
the
benefit.
control. This is my personal,
for the lack of control.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have control.
That's
Right,
right.
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, I
Yeah.
have no way of knowing, hey, did you go out and check this
Right,
out? Or
and-
did-
Correct.
and
Right,
No, and that would all change.
right.
So it's something
I
certainly
think that's,
to.
yeah, we should keep it
We've
going.
got a
Yeah, I
few things
just-
that
Keep the
we're coming to do
conversation
in
going.
March, but that might be you
Yeah.
doing,
Right, but I just rather have a plan before we get there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's all.
Yeah,
right.
but, item 7B, supplement.
You signed it the night of the town meeting, but you have to make the motion to approve.
Oh, yes, we did.
You did.
oh,
It was Jerry Rush. He built a new house and the tax assessor missed it, and so we had to do it.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so what do we have to,
Bring the house, bring
To
the garage?
accept it.
oh,
Just make a motion to accept the supplement number 1.
I make a motion to accept the supplement as noted by the town manager.
Second. How did that one get noticed? Do we know?
Jerry Rush.
oh,
He came in to tell us to please tax him for bringing it up.
Well, he mentioned it to
He knew it was coming.
Jeff
Well,
Willie. He mentioned it to Jeff. And Jeff came in and said, you know, he didn't do that.
oh, jeez.
I mean, and he came in on his own and said, when is, you know,
Well, he didn't tell Jeff Willie to not think that.
Yeah, no,
right,
really.
exactly. He knew he needed a tax bill because it comes out of his escrow.
Oh, so he wasn't
He wasn't
anyway.
gaining, he wasn't gaining.
Right. Did you have an all in favor vote?
Yes.
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 Okay.
So that was actually brand new modular, brand new garage. Actually, it was a woodlot.
Yes.
They cleared that, put that all in, all
Uh-huh.
at the same time. That's a slight miss.
C, cemetery plot.
We have a deed for Diane McCarthy Clark, Brockway Mills Cemetery, plot 16. Do you usually motion those?
I know, I'm not aware of it. I thought a person could just buy them and we sign them, but
Mhm.
That's fine.
I'll make a motion that we sell that plot.
I'm just gonna say no, it's fine. I mean, obviously you approve if you sign.
Do we have to make a motion to approve to sell those, Irvin?
Cemetery lots.
Yes, you.
Oh, what lot?
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Lot.
Do they need a motion?
I think you'll be.
We did it
In the
anyway.
past, they have, yeah.
We did.
We
It
did.
passed.
Yeah, the second.
We approved it.
People are dying to get in there.
Okay.
Okay, appointments. D, road committee, 3-year term.
I would like to
That's-
make a motion to table that
Table.
for now.
Abby Fowler committee.
All right, as we know, the town meeting failed to pass to allow you to sell it.
Yeah, no, actually, we just didn't get a vote. It didn't fail.
That's right, that's
It
right.
never
Didn't
gets
get the vote.
passed over.
That's
you know?
right.
Technically, we still could sell it.
Well, if you found a buyer.
That's right. I'm not going to, I'm just saying.
Well, no, the committee,
So I'm proposing a committee.
right, and I agree. And we've got some people that are interested. But one of the things I think this board needs to do, as we seat this committee, is to have an idea of what we want to task them with. And, you know, ideally, we're the board,
They need a mission statement.
they need a mission statement. And I can imagine, you know, people could come at that committee thinking they're gonna go one way or another. The reality is, we get to direct that,
Right, right.
okay? And so we should really talk about what, I know we wanted permission to sell that because we wanted to sell it.
Right.
To an entity that might generate tax revenue.
Correct.
That was all we were really interested in, getting it back on tax rolls. So we never really officially had this conversation before this, but I think if we're going to seat this committee, that's how we should direct them. That's my thoughts.
I don't care if they sell it, I don't care if they give it away. My only thing is I would like to have them find somebody that was gonna put a financial investment into the property to put it back on the tax bill.
Right, you want it back, you want it generating revenue.
Correct.
Right,
But
right.
I want it to
You
go
don't
to.
want it green space with another gazebo
No.
kept by the town.
Nope, if we was
No.
gonna do that, we should have put the new memorial field gazebo park up there.
Instead of buying that other piece of property.
Correct.
Right.
We have enough green space in the opinion of this board, I think that's.
Very
I
much.
agree.
Yeah,
But I want it to, I think it needs to go to somebody that's willing to put a financial backing to it. I don't want somebody to take it, to do something with it, well, I might do this, I might do that, and not invest a serious amount of money.
is that you, Irving?
Not me,
You gonna get up and start dancing?
just a minute.
It's okay.
I'll shut it off.
So
Thank
find
you.
an entity that is willing to invest
Good.
in the building.
Butch.
Or property, or however you want to verbiage officially to politically correct it.
I put building / property.
I spoke to a contractor who said that that structure actually had value. He said he would not tear it down.
No.
The slab is good, the
Have you guys been in there?
No, I really want to
Have
go
you
in
been in it
there.
yet, Lois?
Not yet.
Oh, we need to do that.
well, maybe
It would
when
be
we
worth
see
a
this
2-second.
committee,
Yeah.
It may be
We
worth a
can all
2-second
go
walk
through
up
it.
over a hill.
well,
Or sometime.
when we seat this committee, that's a great place to have our first
To-
meeting.
There you go.
If you go in, I mean, you drive by that building and it doesn't look like a whole lot. But
No.
I was in that after, when they cleaned it, when it was cleared and that was part of the inspection process. We had to walk around it inside and out. And they showed us everything that they did and everything they had to do. They stripped that old floor. So that floor is basically clean concrete.
Wow. Wow.
There is some cracks in it, but that's back in the 70s. There's no cracks in there. My garage looks
He said-
way worse than that
He
floor.
said it looked good. He
It's,
said it looked good.
in all the walls are all the brick inside, all the layers of paint, that's all gone.
Wow.
Everything, when you walk in, you look right up and you see the roof. All the steel girders, the roof, everything is right there. Yes, it's got some leaks, but you can see the mechanics of that building to see that it's in very good shape. And the way it's made, you can rip about all of the walls right completely out of it and have a giant shell of a building. So there's endless usage in there.
So with that in mind, we can seat this committee.
Well, I have find an entity that is willing to invest in the building slash property to make it a tax-generating, economic developed location. Is that a pretty good,
Yep.
thorough
Tax
mission
generating
statement?
is
Tax generating and financial
Underline.
investment, I think, is the focus points
capital
of.
improvements.
To invest in the
I mean, the contractor that I mentioned, he thought it would take $1 million in capital improvements to get it to where he wanted it. So what would the assessed value be of that? I don't really know, but it probably would be
up there.
maybe half that.
Right.
On the other side of the building, there's no electric, I mean, they stripped everything out of it, there's no heat, there's no insulation in the
But it's
ceiling.
city water, city
Yes.
sewer, it's got some advantages.
It's got a 1970s boiler in there, you ought to be able to get something out of that for an antique. That's a
Anyway,
monster.
that's the
All right, so here
direction
are
we
the
wanna send
six that we have that I've contacted. Toby Hall, Jerry Peters, Tom Carone, Bridie Armstrong, Pam Smith, Diane McCarthy Clark. Now you have to choose 2 3-year, 2 2-year, a 1 year, and an alternate.
I make a motion to approve those, and you do like we did on the last one, start at the top and go to the bottom.
I would second it.
That way there's no favoritism.
Right,
However, I don't
right.
even know how you had it
However it's
listed, and however you do your down through, but
Well, I'm gonna do it right here, right now.
yeah.
Now, the
that would-
only other, I guess we'll cross it, if they read their mission statement and decide it's not something they're interested in.
That's right, they may
participating in,
back out.
They
They may back
out.
out, we'll have to see someone else.
Correct.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
But that's, the cool part is about this,
Yeah.
is Diane McCarthy Clark was a school teacher up there when that was a school.
She was?
Yep, yeah, she was my school teacher.
She was? Oh, she was my kid's school teacher. So that means a not-for-profit,
Tax generating. is what it
yeah, I
says.
know, cannot
Some non-profit organizations still
pay taxes.
Correct.
Right, right, right.
You did that, I thought I signed it wrong.
On to E, winter sand bid.
Make a motion, we table until we find out clarification on our ethics policy.
Oh, okay. Do you want to wait on these? Because we're meeting Wednesday, next week. That'll give you a chance to check with.
That'd be good.
Okay.
That'd be
I like
very
that
good.
motion.
That's smart.
I'd rather do it right off the bat, and then that
And it
way
keeps it
there.
all-
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, one of the lines we might not even open.
Well,
That's right.
Yep. Okay. Class A training for Rick.
Is he requesting it?
He is. He came to me and he specifically asked if the town would put him through training for getting his Class A license.
How much does that cost?
He thinks it's approximately $750, and it's like a winter thing that runs October to March. So we have time to think about it, and it's on weekends, so it wouldn't interfere with working.
My thought, I guess. I love the idea that any town employee wants to come to us and better themselves, and I'm definitely all about education or bettering them or whatever. But at the same breath, two things. I don't really know at this time if we have a gain of having the Class A person in Public Works. The big asset is, the only reason why they need that is to be able to haul the bulldozer.
Right.
Or, take that back, is to haul our trailer, period. I know last year's where this whole thing came to a head and there was a big conflict, and the big thing last year they needed to do was haul culverts, which they used the other truck for. They loaded the culverts in the truck with a loader here at the town garage, which you have to use anyway to get it on the trailer. And at the same time, when you got to the job site, you're doing a culvert, there's always an excavator there. So they took them out of the truck. So it really wasn't that much of an inconvenience on the culvert side. Hauling the bulldozer is an issue. My only thing there, we have a volunteer per se that's doing it for us, so we're not really saving anything. I would like to see us find some ways to save some money before we continue to spend money,
Okay. So table?
for now.
I would agree with that. Table it is.
Table it is?
Old business. Paving groundwork project bids.
And I did meet with Wilson Pike. I don't know who that is. And I did meet with those four. That's probably Herrick.
All right, my question, before we even open these bids,
Mm-hmm.
you want to rewrite the bid and get it sent out for what we really want, so they give us an accurate?
Back to your previous.
Well,
Yeah.
here's a question. There's no question on the, because they all had been rewritten. Did you not see the final draft? For the section that we were rebuilding,
Correct, the gravel amount, correct.
that 800, the gravel amount, I took out the number of yards. And so every contractor that I met, we talked about replacing the culvert, and there was the diagram of the culvert replacement, the way I wanted it done.
At that location.
At that location.
They all saw that.
From Hartford Lane to the mailbox. So it's approximately 800 feet, and we talked about doing a paver will come in and do a 2-inch
Okay,
binding,
Okay.
binder. And,
so that is the
So-
bid that you have right here.
That's what everybody bid on.
well, that's in there. I mean, that's every bid, the way I had written the bid proposal, was everything is in there. All on one sheet.
I don't mind opening them, like I said, same thing as
So
the
you
original.
can table everything, so that I can rewrite it, and you can look at that one
We can look at
project.
these and just see that project. That's not
That
I'm not
is-
saying we can't open them and look at them. I'm just wondering, I don't want to open them up and get all happy and then make sure.
Well, you know what, we're gonna find out if they're all on the same page.
Right,
If
because
they
I
all saw
specifically,
the world the same way, we're probably in pretty good
they
shape.
didn't. I only had one contractor that wanted to do the culverts the way we wanted to do them. The others were, well, that's a good thought, but,
That's fine.
so I
So are they
know
gonna
that
do it the way no, they have to do it the way we've,
well,
Bid it.
you,
I had a pavement guy come to my house the other day, and I said, well, do you have a rubber tire roller? I
and that was another thing, they don't want a rubber tired roller, they're like, you're a small town, small
Only the
towns
state
don't
does that, he
use
said.
rubber tired rollers, only the state uses them on the
Yeah.
What
interstate.
does B&B have? What did they have?
B&B never called back.
I was afraid of that. Might have said that last year.
you what?
What, that he wouldn't call back?
Why?
Oh, you did predict that. Because of that broken piece of pavement.
Please call them,
B&B.
please.
Wait, tell me why?
Because our dreaded culvert,
Right.
The one that's-
Right, yeah.
The
And
Popple
the-
retaining wall.
when we did that, the night that they paved that, well, the long story short of the whole day was B&B recommended that the gravel that we were putting basically from your house up was too fine a gravel, it was too sandy, it wasn't gonna be compacted enough, and we really shouldn't be paving over top of that, is what the recommendation was.
Oh, okay.
After the fact that all of this equipment has showed up and we're doing this gravel as they're showing up to pave.
Oh.
So the consensus between the Public Works and the town manager and B&B was that B&B would water that down and keep compacting it so they could get the pavement on it that night because all the trucks were there. That was the plan. So that was the initial start of the night, or the day of that section. And then when they did that piece by the culvert, that hot top broke out
Yeah.
after they paved it from the trucks.
Like an hour later.
Correct. So B&B, with everything going on, looked at that and said, well, we broke it out, we'll come back and we'll fix that. So after that, it was the board's thought process and the town manager was, we don't pay.
Oh, for repairs?
No, we
Oh,
didn't pay for paving. They held half that check.
Oh.
Became their problem.
trying to force B&B to come back to fix that, even though we all knew that we had a compaction issue. I mean, you go there now, the night we paved that road was as flat as this table, and you go there now and it's
crap.
so we knew there was other things there, but that was the road we took, and that was the concern was we're going to want these guys back. We really shouldn't be holding a check. We should be paying them, and if they don't come back and fix it, that's a different avenue and something else to approach.
But don't put a gun to their head.
Correct. I mean, that was a fair amount of money that we held for a fairly long time,
But you did pay them,
Did
and
pay
they
them.
did come back.
and they did come back. So,
But
I
they're
just-
not bidding again.
They didn't-
Now
that was
leads up to,
this year.
they're not bidding on
They're not
something.
putting in a bid.
I understand.
And I mean, personally, I don't know, that was my first dealings with B&B, but I've seen a lot of other towns use a lot of other pavers. And first impression, when you saw those guys, they showed up with an awful lot of fairly new equipment.
Who, B&B?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely didn't appear to be, some of these smaller guys, so. And they did do what they said they was gonna do at the end, so I would reach out to them. You can share.
Well,
I was picking on Mike.
this is just paving, that's Pike.
Oh,
Yeah, but how are they breaking that?
it's per ton.
It's
Yeah.
per ton, they didn't break it down.
But they got,
It's
looking
per
at
bid.
3 separate jobs there. Or is
Right.
it 3 separate aggregates?
It's 3 separate aggregates, so it's a base, a middle, and a top. So I'm assuming it's a shim and,
Should have been just a shim and pave.
no, it's not.
They've
She's
got
got a
three different-
9.5 at 520 ton, a 19, which is your top, at 19.5 ton, and a 12.5 at
They're giving you the price,
1,000 ton.
depending on what size pavement you use. And then we had asked for 12.5,
Okay.
and so they're putting it in as if we use the 19.5 or the 9.5 or the 12.5.
No, it can't be. The tonnage is nowhere near.
I know it's not the same, I saw that.
Yeah. I think they're thinking something.
Something different.
Yeah. I think they're
Is that
thinking.
Pike?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm thinking they must be considering the 9.5 at 520 for part of the shim, the 12.5. The 19 is what's throwing me, because the 19 is 195 ton. So in one spot, he must be, I don't know. That's,
Yeah, I don't know what he's thinking of
I don't know
at
with that.
19.
with no explanation at all.
Is that what he's saying we need on that 800 feet?
No,
That's both. That's
That's both
French's
roads.
Mills and,
that's,
that's French's Mills and the 800 feet.
But, I mean, you got a $150,000 budget. There's over $100,000 of paving.
yeah.
Good thing oil's down.
Yeah, he didn't differentiate between any of it. And
No.
he had a bid sheet. So,
I don't understand those numbers at all. That doesn't make sense to me.
So that needs explanation.
Realistically, you should have
That's
You should
our
have
only
a-
bid, our only bid for paving, is that correct?
no,
Oh.
we've got Stan Kitchen here.
Okay.
who's done a lot for the
Um,
town in the past.
Here we go, French's Mills, approximately 200 feet, shim and resurface, 42,350. Silver's Mills, approximately 3,300 feet, 63,700.
So he bid the whole thing.
And then the gravel area, approximately the 800 feet, paving the gravel area with a 19 mil mix, 13,650. That's approximately
That's your binder.
195 ton, that's what that is.
Okay.
All mixes at $70 per ton.
So am I understanding that on fresh gravel, you just do a one coat at 19,
Yeah, 2 inches,
of just 19?
I think so, yeah.
This is what they call the binder.
the binder,
This
right?
is, and then the idea would be that next year you come in and
Put
shim
it-
and pave.
So that was what Stan Kitchen put in. But he and Steve Lawson put theirs in together.
Oh, so meaning one's doing,
The paving,
They work
and the
together.
other
One
is
does the
doing.
groundwork, one does the paving.
Yeah. And so the gravel work, which was the 800 feet, Silver's Mills, 28,500 based on 800 yards compacted MDOT spec. If less gravel is used, price will be less.
Correct.
Obviously.
okay, so, because that's really the first what was his plan or his thought process with the pavement that's there as part of his bid?
He was breaking it up. We're gonna reuse the pavement
Okay.
that's there.
Oh, he's
Okay,
gonna
that's-
reclaim it?
Kind of reclaim it up with an excavator.
With an excavator, just break it up. And it is a viable option. I did
Oh.
call Phil Curtis and he said, yes, you can do that rather than remove it.
Which means rather than 15 inches of gravel, we might get away with closer to 12.
So I see.
Well, I can tell you last year we reclaimed, and when you go past his house going up the hill, there was a section, the reclaimer didn't do the middle. And it's on my other phone and I took pictures of it just to see if it's gonna pop up. There were sections of hot top that were 6 to 8 inches wide and up to 16, 18 inches long that were up through that center. So that road's already broken up more than what that is my point, where, and they paved right over the top of that.
Yeah, no,
Oh, wow.
you're right, this is like, already,
It's close to gravel. I mean,
Right, neat, yeah.
he took us to a road in Abbott that he was gonna do exactly the same thing on, and it was actually in better condition than the Silver Mills Road, so it sounds like that is a good application, as opposed to hauling it out. He did tell us that Pike is obligated to take any pavement you bring them.
Oh,
That's state law.
I mean, I
He's gonna
personally,
take it back.
I don't know Lawson, I don't know anything about his work or anything. Mickey Knowles up in Abbott uses him pretty steady, and I've talked to Mickey a lot since I've been on the board, because I've known Mickey forever, working with him at the mill before, but I've never had different conversations about what Abbott does or how they do it. Steve Lawson's name always comes up, and it's always a rave review, and the end of the conversation is Mickey always says he wouldn't use anybody else. So I'm not opposed to hiring somebody new that we haven't used. I mean, obviously, we need to get this done correctly, but
Right.
I did put him on
Somebody
the
new to the
spot
table.
with, I said, if you put a culvert in for us and it caves in the first year, are you gonna fix it? He said, that's not gonna happen. I said, well, that's not really the question. He said, I'll guarantee my work for a year. He said, if it doesn't perform, I'll take it out. I said, well, at least we know what you'll do.
right.
correct.
And he works a lot in Heartland. I talked to the Heartland town manager. He doesn't hire anybody else. He
Huh.
hires Steve Lawson. He doesn't have a bid policy, so he can hire. But he does get comparables, and he said,
Now, did you get something from here?
I did. I'm not sure if it's comparable, because when I talked with Herrick, I think it was Travis, he talked about using the town dozer and stuff like that. I didn't write the bid that way, and I told him if I wasn't opposed if he wanted to do that, but to indicate that on the bid, which he didn't indicate, he just put a price down, so.
So you don't know if he's planning on using our equipment.
Hmm.
Now, when he was,
It's not too far off. He bid 22,000, Steve bid 28,500, and Wellman bid 42,000.
Wow, jeez.
So it's not too far off.
okay, well, I guess, because you're gonna redo the bid, right? I mean, that's what we're gonna do.
It's up to you if you want to redo everything. I mean, the first one was just, they did all bid by the culvert, because I told them bid by the culvert, because we weren't sure how many were going to be done. So when I spoke to them individually, bid by the culvert. Steve says 2,700
Per culvert.
per culvert, as we want it, with that diagram. And he will work with Stan to do the
That's paid.
trench paving.
Yep.
That's that's how much money?
2,700 per culvert.
Paved.
He's put 3 prices out here, so he's got 2,700 and then rip wrap, inlets and outlets for 200 as needed, and then as needed trench pave for 850. So I'm not sure if these are included in this or if it's in addition to. Not sure.
That, also, John, when he looked at the poplar log. and
Oh, yeah.
He said he could fix that without extending the culvert. He could pull that material out there and put in a heavy, it's like a rip wrap.
Put a big field stone, basically.
Yes.
And he can get the grade where we need it legally, so you wouldn't need a guardrail there. And he said
Oh,
that
okay.
shouldn't be a problem.
Who, Lawson?
Yep.
Yeah, and he said, if we did the extension, he put in 2,600, but then he says may not need extension, just plunge pool on the other side, because we talked about, you had mentioned that.
I'm more, honestly, I know everybody wants to talk about the poplar tree. I'm not concerned about that poplar tree. My concern is the other side of the road.
Well, he
Because
said
the
put in a
poplar tree
plunge-
side's not, that road's not caving down. The other side
Well, he
is.
would do the same thing on both sides. He said, take out that existing stuff, put in the large boulder riprap on both sides, and put in a plunge pool on, not the popple side,
Right.
to keep the silt and stuff
The
from
uphill side,
clogging
yeah.
the.
Because, I mean, I've gone there on, say, like in this, if we get 3 or 4 good days of heavy rain, I haven't done it since this spring, but when this, you go up there and stand off, that far off the hot top, and you sink that much into that material. So that road is continuing to settle to that, that's my concern of that, is if we
Yeah.
can't get that rip wrapped to
We-
hold that road, it's gonna keep continuing to do what it's doing now.
Yeah, with Wellman, now they bid 5,000 on that project, and they didn't specify which way they were going to fix it, but he and I also had that discussion about doing the large boulder riprap. Herrick, because he didn't go out with me, he
He's
just
been
came
there. He
here,
knows.
he's been there.
Oh.
But we didn't specifically talk about the other side, we
Oh.
only talked about the popple log side, so his bid is only 800 to fix that popple log side,
But he's not bidding really on the same
right.
magnitude of the job.
And his bid for color replacement, I'm assuming doesn't include the paving and, he never, doesn't reference that.
Okay, so
I think his bids, I really think he's talking a lot with using the town dozer.
So
now when you say
need-
town dozer, the other clarification we need is that town dozer and a town operator? Because we really technically, I mean, our guys can, as far as I know, our guys can use our dozer and they can push material and then we back drag it with a loader. We don't really per se have bulldozer operator.
Right.
So,
I don't know.
So we gotta
But that
find
was,
out.
a lot of my discussion with Travis was using, in addition to his bid, using town resources.
okay, well, I just want to make sure he understands what our resources truly are. I don't want him to,
Right.
you can't.
Dozer with an operator or
Correct,
just the
you know.
dozer? I mean.
I think dozer with an operator.
Oh.
Well, because we had this discussion about clarity in these bids,
Yeah.
what about letting Lois take this material, reach out to these individuals, make sure that everybody's on the same page, get
Well,
clarification on all this?
I would like to have a clarified bid to go to these guys and say, look, this is what our bid is. Or if they want to change it, it needs to be very clear so that when we're opening these, we all understand. Or if they want to deviate from our bid, let them know what night we're going to open and say, please come. And then that way there, if we have a question, because the next time we open these bids, which I'm hoping is very soon, we're going to award it. And I would just as soon have them here if it's
You don't have to have
important.
a special meeting to do that, because we have a meeting next week and then not again until the 23rd.
We should
And
be able
that
to get
cuts
this
it
done next week.
Pretty short.
If we have to do a special, I just think we need to get it going.
Well, I know, but putting this bid out and then getting them to get it back before next Wednesday.
Well, I guess that's, you've got your 3 bidders, or whatever reach out to each one of them individually, fax them, kind of a
questionnaire.
follow up. This is exactly what we're wanting. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and talk.
Now,
about it.
my question, only because they come in together, is that a package deal with Lawson? Only because, I mean,
In other words,
I think
does he
he just
insist that
wanted-
his paver get it? No.
okay.
No, because
I mean,
his
I'm not-
paver doesn't have a rubber tire roll.
None of them do.
You know, I would be surprised if you're gonna get one,
I would
unless you
be
hire
surprised.
Pike.
Pike.
Because.
Pike
no,
will have one,
No,
No?
I don't think so.
sure.
They got-
Pike does
doing
state.
state work all the time.
They got rubber tire rollers.
Yeah, but you see their price.
Yeah.
And Wellman, I know won't, because he kind of said no. He's the one that said, nobody takes a rubber tire roller to a town, to a small town for paving.
I'm pretty sure they don't either. I would about guarantee you that.
And this is the one that Phil Curtis warned us would pull that.
Right, but Phil's explanation, and like you
I-
said
I'm
on the
not
law,
saying it's-
there's 100 DOT
Correct.
experts. His explanation was really logical to me.
I'm not saying I don't disagree, I'm not saying that I don't agree with what he's saying.
Yeah. So I mean, we can hold fast on that spec,
I don't think-
or not.
I don't think it's a spec. I think it's a spec we can hope for, but I don't think it's.
Well, do you want it? I
Oh,
can
no, you-
remove it from the bid if you,
You can require it, and you
But
will
if
limit
it's-
your number of bidders,
Right.
but,
and it will
And the
increase
price.
your price.
And
Right.
That's where you're gonna go if you want
Yeah.
a rubber tire roller.
right, but it might be worth it. It might not be worth it, but
We
based on
have to
what.
see the difference.
Right, he was, based on Phil's view, is
I
you're not gonna
personally,
get a proper job without it. The way he explained it is essentially the worse these roads are, the more that you need
Need
it.
it.
It's
So that
interesting, the state's using them on,
can you
The
go
interstate
around and touch
highway.
these other towns, see if any of them ever request that, and do any of them ever get it?
yeah, it would, Chris, any of them.
Sure.
It would be interesting to know if anybody's
Dexter,
doing it.
Dover, Milford, Guilford, I don't care who you call, just, if you call 3-4 towns and say, hey, look,
I mean, it could
this
be
is
that
what's been
Phil's thing
suggested.
is a wish,
Right,
and
right.
but,
Or an ideal situation, and so this Wellman, they're paving, right? And they
Yes.
said, oh, no, but nobody does it. But does that bid include a rubber tire?
no.
It doesn't say it doesn't include it, but I
And that was
know.
in the
you did
bid.
spec it.
I did spec it.
So-
I said,
Yeah.
we require the use of 3 rollers, including the breakaway roller, the rubber tire roller, and the finish roller.
That's exactly what Phil told us to do.
And he bid on it. And so therefore, when he starts paving and he doesn't show up with the rubber tire, we say,
Well, that's, yeah, you were there.
I'll be the one, right?
Yeah, you were the one
I'm
in
gonna
your truck.
stop everything and say, we're just gonna wait for the rubber tire roller to come.
Yeah, no, he's,
So he bid on it.
I can tell you the more important thing that I ever learned about paving, it's way more important to have that guy standing there doing the temp of the hot top as it's going to the paver than it is worrying about what the roller you got.
I know the
That's
temp
the bigger
is
difference.
major, and I don't know what the temp is supposed to
I
be,
got
but
it at
it
the
is.
house. That's
The
way.
temperature?
Yes, you don't want it too cold or too hot, it's gotta be the perfect temperature to lay.
Oh,
And you need to have a thermometer there.
oh
You
wow.
gotta read it.
It's like making,
Well, because what ends up, the way, when I went to that DOT class, they had told me what ends up happening a lot of times for these smaller towns when you're doing paving, is if there's a paving job in the area of the state, they scan every single one of them. If they reject the load,
oh, it comes to, oh
Comes to you.
boy.
That's that purple tree.
He was $5,000 for that. Wow.
But again,
that-
like I said, we talked about both sides, and he didn't.
see,
we
if
didn't
you
go
got
out
multiple
and talk about
contractors
both
that can
sides.
fix that and riprap, then
Yeah.
bid it that way.
Yeah, there was 2
I
people
have 2
that said.
people that bid with the riprap.
Yeah.
But I mean, in your clarified bid that you're gonna put out,
And you know what? Phil looked at that and didn't even mention that
No, he
possibility.
didn't.
So there you
He
go. It's not, I'm not saying Phil's the end all.
No, yeah.
no, we're back to, I put Phil in the same, nothing against the guy, I put him in the same category as every other contractor you're gonna hire.
Right, they all.
He has an opinion,
That's right.
and
And
every
he did
contractor has their own.
He said there are guys at the DOT that argue with me about this. So, you know, that's just,
So anybody to me that first states anything to do with road work is an expert, it's still an opinion just as well, because I don't think there's really any expert road work degree class anybody can take.
it's, you know, a lot of counties do it different, a lot of states do it different. The Stan was telling me that the state had a policy, anything north of Route 2 had a different type of aggregate because of the conditions.
Wow.
I mean, like if you're on that side of the road, I mean, so it's all somewhat subjective.
So what do you want for specs on it then?
Well,
I mean, because for culverts, I mean, we basically know,
we got your recipe there.
we got the recipe, right, exactly.
Correct.
And I sent it.
Yep.
Okay, and I think the part, instead of number, if they can give you, I'm surprised they're willing to give you a cost per color.
They did. Oh, he did say earthwork per culvert's 27. Riprap 200, trench paving 850. And see, he's giving me 3,200 each.
So actually, why don't you spec out that way? I really like how that's spec'd. How he had
Earthwork, riprap,
Earthwork, riprap,
and trench paving.
yep. That way there, you know, when you do your bid that way, if somebody gives you the bid for earthwork, but don't give you the bid for trench pave, if you line it out that way, when they fill it out, you know they're not gonna, that's not part of the bid. That's not part of the conversation.
Okay. 1B was the riprap, the large stone riprap, and we want to go with that way.
If you've had more than one contractor tell us they can fix it that way,
I did, I had two.
that's a
These two.
cheaper route to take.
Yep. Yep. And not even the landowner issue, we don't have to worry. I mean, he already gave us permission, but we don't have to.
Correct.
Right, yeah. And
I actually have 3 landowners that I don't know which landowner is there, so I have all 3 permissions.
okay.
But I still strongly feel that if we're gonna fix this, it'd be better to do both sides and get it done,
Yep.
myself. And
Yeah,
I,
there's no point if you're over there, fix it.
All right, then 1C was shoulders, just removing the shoulders on the 2,200 feet of French's Mills.
And that we spec'd. You had to have the right type of equipment. You weren't gonna get the road dirty.
I mean, look at the prices though, look at this one.
Yeah, that's,
what do you got, how much?
well,
There's a difference of.
I don't care about the name, I just wanna.
4,900?
66, 1820.
Ah,
Say that again?
$1,820.
and the highest one
That's
is
shoulder work on the French's Mills Road?
6,600. That's the one with 2,200 feet.
Now,
That's you? Just a little off.
yeah, it's amazing they could be looking at the same project.
No, I'm telling you.
They're
this-
not.
No, they are, it's just, this is like last year
That's
we had
frightening.
5 or 6 paving bids. Or, the mowing bids, I mean,
Yep, yep.
all of this stuff, when you open
Some
these-
people wanna do it, some people don't really wanna do it.
that's
And honestly, that's like with Pike, I don't know about this year per se, but last year, when I opened the bids comparing to what else we had for paving, that's more of how I interpreted the bid was, they've got a lot of big jobs.
right.
They didn't really care if they come in a
Right.
small town and did the
Yeah,
stuff,
that
because
amount
they
of-
didn't need it.
Tonnage is nothing to them.
Right, they didn't wanna, it was almost a
If
bother
we're
them
gonna
all.
do it, we're gonna make a lot of money.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Compared
worth
to
our
what
while.
others was
Yeah.
offering.
Because I think a lot of our guys are buying the pavement from them,
Yeah.
so
Well, actually, they hauled out of Bangor somewhere, come up through Newport.
I think Stan might have been getting his from Pike based on what he was saying, but I don't know.
Well, that's how B&B didn't get it through Pike, because it was cheaper to go through somebody else.
I'm sure that.
I'm sure when it comes
It's like
time, they call,
I-204 is a
there you
huge
go.
shop.
So 1D was the culvert there by Spalding's residence. That one is pretty straightforward, needs cleaning, both inlet, outlet, berm to divert the water. Shoulders uphill need to be cleared to divert flow.
There's
And riprap
lots of
both
this that
ends.
doesn't really even need to be bid. I mean,
A
it's
lot.
not anywhere near 10,000.
No,
I mean, a lot of this Lois could just
Correct.
handle.
correct. You do it as projects.
Yeah, I mean, like, the riprap.
You're seeing enough numbers right now, so you're,
I mean, we don't need to bundle this whole thing. Yeah, the 800 feet, that project, that's a project. and
Right.
That
correct.
definitely needs to be bid.
But all these, like, if you got, I mean, I don't know what the other ones come in at, but if you're talking, you can get a culvert down for $2,700.
Yeah, let him do.
I mean, if you're gonna call up and say, yeah, do 10 of them, well, we probably ought to put it up a bit, but, I mean, for
but you can do 2 or 3
2700.
a week. Right?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm free next week, I can do 2. Okay, great, do 2. I can't do any more until 2 more weeks. Well, I'll let you know what we, you know. In the meantime, we can get some clarity from our road committee as to what is really a culvert that needs to be replaced. And now it seems like we've got some
There's a
differing opinions.
Well, and that's what happened last night. Well, geez, you got all these culverts, you're saying, chance. Wait a minute. The culverts that we said we'd replace was the ones that the road committee told us need to be replaced.
Right.
So, what I suggested was they need to be on board and, as a committee, bring something to the group.
But, the committee or combination thereof comes to Lois and says, okay, we got 3 more that definitely need to be replaced. She can pick up the phone and say, can you do those this
3
week?
more.
Yep,
But none of that needs to be bid.
that's what I'm saying. And then we can get stuff going. And we don't need to know whether it's 6,200 or 6,300.
I mean, I don't, like, there's ditching along Silver's Mills, it's a long stretch, I don't know what that's gonna be. But there again, that might be the same deal, you might be able to call up, get a couple ideas from people, it isn't gonna be a formal bid. If you're pushing, if you know you're gonna be over the 10,000, well, yeah, maybe we ought to bid that out, but.
Well, then why
You're
don't we
not gonna
look at the ones though that we know, like this project on the 800 feet? Why don't we look at those bids and see if, I mean, we know that they're all comparing the same thing.
As long as we can be comfortable with that, I would say
It's 28.5 based on 500 yards compacted.
800 yards.
Yes, I don't have my glasses on.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson with that. Never send an email that way.
MDOT
Correct.
spec gravel. If less gravel is used, price will be less. And this one, he just says 42,000 on that project. And that one is 22,400. And then it says $1.90
Per foot for ditching.
to ditch. Which is part of number 7. It says may also require some ditching to be done after paving, which should be part of should have been part of the bid. And
Yeah, but we don't do the ditching before the paving, right?
after paving. Ditching is done after paving.
Are you sure?
Why would we do that? I would want the road work and the ditching done, and then I want to pave. I don't want to put pave or binder or anything down, and then put an excavator or equipment on it and ditch.
Well, are you gonna be able to get your grade, the grade that you need?
That's what I mean. I want my road graded, my ditch is done, my road graded,
And then you bind it.
then you bind it.
That's what I would have thought. Because your culvert's all gotta be, you can't put a culvert in until you ditch.
Right.
Because you gotta lower the culvert, get it to exactly where you need it, and your ditch
Right.
has to flow.
Right.
You don't do that afterwards.
So my point is, this wasn't included in his bid, this ditching part,
Right.
where it probably was included in these 2 parts.
Right, because I'm assuming Lawson or Herrick is going to do the ditching, set the grade of the road,
Yeah,
and walk away.
exactly.
Yeah.
I would assume that as well. Because you can't set culverts if you don't have a ditch.
Correct.
Do you want to look at it further, or do you still want to, or decide? Yeah, we know that's expensive.
Now, the other thing we talked about, or actually I think Pike was, is this part of Pike's bid? Is that where that's coming from? Because remember there was a conversation about doing the work on the 800 feet and then just shimming Silver's Mills to get it through the year. Is that part of what a lot of that tonnage is? Is that where he's getting 3 numbers? Because
That
he's
could be.
thinking the shim and the pave, so he's using 2, and then he's thinking the binder, and then he's thinking just shim. Because he's got a lot of, I mean, he's got
Well,
a
he's got
huge
the
amount of
19 mil
tonnage. on it.
shim, 19 mil at 195 ton, which is what they have, Stan Kitchen was 195 ton.
What did Stan have for a size? What type?
19 mil.
19
Okay,
mil.
so that's
And
Okay,
it's
so that's the
exact same
binder.
price.
Okay,
That
so-
is the
Same-
binder.
same
Exact
price?
Same price.
Okay,
exact
so
same.
that's binder.
Yeah.
19
So-
mil is binder?
That's, I'm assuming
Yes.
that's what they're using.
Okay.
Yes.
Only because we have it in 2 places.
Okay.
And then the
Yeah.
9.5,
I would assume must be, is that the shim? Would you put the courser on the bottom?
No, you put the courser on the top. No, you put the 12.5 as shim, the 9.5 as your surface. That's what Pike says. You don't want the bigger stone showing on the surface.
So
So
what
they're
does-
shimming with 12.5. That's the 1,010 ton.
So what does that number truly represent, I guess?
The 12.5.
Yes.
Shim.
That's
Oh.
the shim for 5,500
Correct, but I mean, how do they, what does that represent as far as?
3/4 inch.
Okay, 12.5 is 3/4 inch?
Yes, and then the surface was 9.5 mils, 1.5.
So it's mil. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm.
Mil,
Okay.
yes, 9.5 mil. Yeah.
You got that, man, look at those.
I was thinking it was the other way. I was thinking the higher the number, the finer the material. I wasn't, but if you're talking mil, then it's. See, if you would have shared, we wouldn't have had to ask that question. 'Cause
Oh.
Mike
What
was
question?
hiding the answer. That's
3/4
how-
shim using
Oh,
one X surface with a 12.5 millimeter. Oh. Okay. We're providing culverts.
it's cheaper.
Well, that's something we gotta figure out too. 'Cause we got them last year. I don't know, we got them in two places. One place we ordered them.
Paris Farmers Union in Newport is the cheapest usually.
Correct. But we ordered, can't remember what I'm out, got 10 dozen of them and then we,
I don't know, do we have an accurate inventory of what we have?
I haven't got any inventory right now.
my only concern about the Paris Farmers thing, I mean, culvert to culvert, yeah, you might be all right, but when you look at, you're an hour ride two ways and labor cost and for 2 hours and gas, and you add all that on there, what was it compared to when we had them delivered and we didn't have to go get them? And, 80 Level's got a pretty good stockpile right in Guilford too, so. I don't know.
Extra level, right?
Well, that's,
I'm sure they
Okay.
will. You're right, if are we going to get them in Newport?
yeah,
Is that the deal?
yeah.
They will deliver.
Oh, okay, well.
We don't.
We need a delivered price. That's,
Right, but just another cost.
right, but I'm
Pick up
saying,
the phone, call around. see what-
then, because I know Kelly will bring culverts up as many as you want. Okay. So, are we going to award a bid tonight? On this, the 800 feet is the.
Well, and you also have the French's Mills paving you can look at too.
I don't really want to, I want a phone call to B&B before we, personally. I think we owe it to B&B, at least to have a personal phone call.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Put a bid in. Nothing against anybody here at all, I just,
It should
Did
slow
you
us down.
solicit these bids? You did. Aha. Okay.
I guess some might argue it's not fair to these guys, but
Yeah, but if you called these guys and invited them to bid and did not call B&B, then it's,
Okay, yeah, that's a reasonable.
I may have called B&B,
Oh.
I'm thinking. I have it written
okay,
in a
Okay.
tablet.
He certainly can
I
wait
had
till
a
next
couple that
Wednesday.
did not return my call.
okay. And if they didn't,
If they didn't, they didn't, but
that's right. I mean, you know,
you can't
we're not
force
gonna
it. I know.
spoon feed them.
No, I don't want to spoon
The
feed
job.
anybody. I just,
Right, right.
we have a circumstance,
Right.
and I just assume, make sure we have a personal connection with them.
Right.
If we knew we had that, then I guess I wouldn't worry about it. But
Right,
if you didn't
right.
have, we don't know for sure, then I would like to at least make sure that we did.
So you have a phone log of who you called?
Just to,
Okay, so,
without any
yeah,
hard
yeah.
feelings of a past experience, I think it. But I would like to have the bid clarified, I think, because even that, there's a part about the ditching being done afterwards, which
I don't see
really,
how we can do that. I
No,
don't think
it
we
should be
wanna
done
do that.
before.
Yeah.
Your DOT recommends after.
yeah, I
paving.
know. DOT never, ever, ever ditches after paving.
I just don't see how you set your color. That's all.
I don't know how you set
I'm
your
not-
grade of your road. I mean, part of your road extends out through your ditches. You do all of that at once.
Yeah, but that's part of the grade of the road, that's not the ditching.
Yeah, I can see the
But I
argument.
mean, your grade of your road goes out through your ditch. That's what I mean. They cut their ditch, they grade the road, they do all of that, then you hot top. They don't go back and do it afterwards. I don't know where Phil come up with that.
Yeah, but Pete Coughlin, he's the head of DOT in Maine DOT, he says the same thing. I've been at the roads classes.
Right.
Ditching is done after paving.
Well, I mean, you do
I think
a
it-
lot of ditching after the road's paved
Has-
for years.
After it's cured.
Right. But
But I mean, you're not even supposed to, but they don't even want equipment on that after it's.
So it wouldn't be right after doing. So what were you going to say?
I think it has to do with the drainage off the pavement versus,
So they mirror the shoulder to the pavement.
But that's
That's not ditching.
that's shouldering.
Yeah.
That's the cleaning up the mess that you
I-
graciously
I-
That I
volunteered.
had-
I just know that that's what
Yeah.
they say, ditching
Yeah.
after paving.
No, I would just soon have the bid worded that ditch, the road work is.
Well, I want to do it the right way. I'm
Right.
just having a hard time getting my mind around setting a culvert without a proper ditch. I don't see how you do that. But
How do you, if you raise a road,
the Sills Mills Road is a perfect example. We're gonna raise that road, a foot or more. We're gonna take those ditches down, we put bigger culverts in.
And that one's, yeah.
I don't see how we're gonna properly set that culvert if we don't ditch it before we build the road.
right?
Well, you're not gonna ditch it. You wouldn't ditch all 800 feet to set a culvert.
You're going
Now,
to,
you
because
could,
you're gonna raise the
or you
road.
could just ditch, you're saying maybe you ditch around where the culvert's gonna be, maybe, I don't, whatever's the right way to do it,
I think the right way is to ditch it.
see, you're more confident than I am.
I bet if you call any one of these contractors, they're gonna ask you, who's gonna do that, what you do?
They're gonna tell you probably
Ditch it.
ditch than pave because it's easier for them and it's less time consuming because they don't have to wait for an amount of time to come back.
So, I mean, maybe the answer is what you pave, you don't ditch until next year. Maybe that's how they approach it, I don't know.
I can take number 7 off. I mean, it's,
The ditch part, the ditching.
Well,
it needs ditching.
correct, the ditching needs to be a part of the road work, and it needs to be a part of the project, but it needs to all be part of the
Well,
before paving.
I don't think, the way it's worded, I don't think it's,
It could make.
it's just the ditching part that they're bidding on. They're not concerned with the paving part.
I think you're
Correct, but the only thing is they're bidding on bringing equipment back, which is gonna inflate your cost.
Do you say that the ditching is done after the paving?
Should be done after paving.
Correct.
Oh,
So you're looking at them bringing equipment back, which should lessen that bid. If I can ditch, if I don't have to haul my equipment around, you're gonna do it while it's there, it should be cheaper.
right, but so
yeah, but we want to do it
it's
when
only
it's
gonna get
supposed to
better,
be
not
done.
worse.
Correct. But on the same deal, you wanna make sure everybody's bidding the same way.
Okay,
Well, it was spec that. It was spec that, so you would have no excuse. If you bid this, you bid this
to be done
to be done
after the paving.
Whether we do it that way or not, we could ask for some advice from our road committee.
There you go.
But the point is that it was spec that way. So anybody who bid it should be
They
able
know.
to carry it.
Right.
Now you're just back to the speccing it accurately before we put the bid out, which is the recommendation. Correct. Like, that was the original recommendation of the road committee.
No, but
Just to have the bid correct.
yeah, that's the only bid that went out. I mean,
Correct.
unless we're gonna redo that and ditch prior to, it might come in cheaper, is that what you're hoping?
That's what they're hoping, yes. That's the only, I mean, because you're bidding out separately on your culverts, but that's the only part of that is too, is we don't know exactly what's included in the bids. That's the only default about that part of it,
On this section,
on the culvert section.
not this Silver's Mill section.
No,
When you say we don't know what's included, what do you think is ambiguous?
because Lawson broke his out.
Well, yes,
So it's groundwork,
but,
riprap.
Well, that
If it's-
riprap is that one project.
No.
but he
Any
says
culvert.
earthwork per culvert. He's the only one that asked about the
Correct.
riprap and the trench paving.
Right, so you know, with what Lawson gave us,
Right.
if she
What-
needs a culvert and she goes out there and she knows that's gonna need to be riprap, she's gonna know, I'm gonna pay this much for earthwork, I'm gonna pay
Right.
this much for riprap,
It's,
and this is what it's gonna
it's
cost.
a great way to do it.
It
It
is.
is an awesome way to do it.
Yeah.
Because you know what your costs are.
Right.
The way that other bid is, you
You don't have a
know
clue what
that
he's
is.
including in that
Correct.
setting of that culvert. Right.
That's the problem.
And in many cases, we don't need to bid these culverts.
Correct.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, do we want to give her the green light to get some of this going? Because we don't, and as long as we're not spending over $10,000 on a particular project, there's no reason she can't work with.
I don't know why the 800 feet, the road work for the 800 feet, that's spec'd out properly.
I think so too.
The only verbiage that needs to be changed on the 800 feet is the ditching prior to pavement.
Yeah,
And
and that's
I'm
only
sure-
going to reduce, not
Correct.
increase, so,
Right,
I understand.
we can clarify that,
With the
with the
contract.
contract.
yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you talk to both contractors said, I have never, ever done my ditching afterwards, I think you're crazy, then we'll
Then,
take that into consideration.
right. But if they say,
If they
yeah,
both say, no,
sure.
that's the way you should do it.
Right.
We'll take that into consideration. But they bid it
They did.
that way.
They did.
In theory, yep.
Okay.
So, do you want to award one of these tonight?
What do you got the dollar amounts for that 800 feet?
28,500. That's based on the 800 yards compacted MDOT spec gravel. If it's less gravel, less cost. 22,400. But then he qualifies, it's $1.90 or $1.98 per foot to ditch. And this one is just 42,000.
We also have, it seems like there was a question as to whether this bid included town operators.
Which one? The lowest
Yes,
one?
that's the
The
question
lowest
about
one.
the bid.
Yeah, yeah. So we really
You
can't,
don't have to take the lowest either.
No, I know
No, but I
that.
would really like to. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I would really like, only
But
because
I
you
know,
got
but it
comparable
doesn't include
contractors.
his ditching though. See, this doesn't include his ditching even. It's the 22,400.
22,000 plus a buck
plus
ninety a foot.
$1.90 a foot.
For 800 feet.
Yeah,
Hopefully it
1,600
works
feet.
out like his plowing. His plowing is crap too.
oh boy.
From
So,
what I've seen.
is that what, 1,600 feet?
Yeah, well,
It's about-
yeah, but they're not
I mean, go
gonna ditch
2
on
bucks.
both sides, but, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So it's 3,200 feet.
That's-
3,200 bucks.
Which
Well,
makes it
It's
pretty
800
close.
feet times 2, 1,600 times 2 bucks a foot, 3,200 bucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're pretty close.
They're pretty close.
But what is an unknown is if
Who
he,
he's planning on using if he's.
correct.
Right,
And I
right.
think in all
And-
fairness, probably you ought to,
That, we need to clarify that.
yeah.
Right, that needs to be clarified.
But that's pretty simple. I mean, that's a phone call.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday we could
Right,
pick,
right,
Correct.
yeah,
which I
Because there's
don't
no
know.
other part of that bid that's wrong.
right.
Correct.
There's nothing
The
there
rest
for
of
the,
this stuff.
there's
the rest-
nothing there for the road committee to say it wasn't bid properly.
Well,
Because that bid all went out to everybody the same way. It's the same verbiage, it's the same thing. It's the 800 feet.
right.
Did you read through it?
Yep.
So we'll hold until we get some
Just make
clarity
sure
there.
that they're all
Yep.
bidding on exactly the same amount of work.
But as far as the culvert work and all these individuals,
As soon as the road committee gives us a legitimate, or however you want to do that, to get your determination,
we got work I know that needs to be done, so,
that doesn't
Oh,
have to be bid.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
let's get going.
Let's go.
Well, some of these other smaller things, I mean, I did one and took it off. I did the Grange Road and Easel Road. I had that.
What do you,
You
I'm
got it done.
assuming
Oh,
that
good job.
the bid that
Good,
you
good.
have for $1.95 a foot for ditching, that's gonna be his standard rate, or is it because of that area?
I'm assuming that's a standard rate.
That's what I would, do we have a rate?
I talked
Anybody
to,
else's?
150 is what I was told from another contractor. In fact, the guy that we interviewed, he was 150. So that's kind of, that seems like a 190 maybe in the high range, but.
Well, that's what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
because you got a lot of, you got what, 1,100 feet on Silver's Mills needs to be ditched as well? I was just trying to think in my head a about number.
I think that's, and
1,100 feet times 2 is 22, times,
the $150 included, that was soup to nuts. His trucks for removal, his drivers, you know, it was everything.
Right.
So, and I had talked to Butch about that. Butch thought that was a reasonable number, $150 a foot. So I think the 190 is a little bit rich, but
Mike, I got a question. If, let's say they don't use our operator and they use the bulldozer and it breaks, who does that come on?
us,
Eric or-
Us.
that'd be ours.
we don't do much of that.
Yeah. We've never, well, we have used it out on a few things, but
Yeah, that's just, I mean,
Mhm.
Most
Yeah.
of it's used.
it's in their favor to abuse the equipment. I know, I run a lot of equipment
Yeah.
for the Air Force.
But the other side of it too, though, it's in their favor not to, because they want that dollar. You know, I mean, I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't think of
Oh, yeah, when
Yeah,
it's not your own equipment.
Right, you know how it is.
Oh, yeah,
Rent a car,
absolutely.
rent a car.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's
You
right.
don't
Rent
grease
plenty of cars.
you don't grease the rented.
The rental, it's not your problem.
And we
Don't even check
we don't
the
own any
oil.
bulldozers.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
There you go.
I
That's
prefer
a good
not
point.
to.
We like thinking differently, so it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
a
well,
bad thing to
22
throw
years
things
Air
out.
Force, I've seen it all.
Okay.
So I don't
That's
think we
good.
have a motion, or we
Right,
need a
but we're
motion at
gonna-
this point. We're kind of we're tabling
Right,
Yep.
the bid till
And-
Wednesday.
right.
And we're
Gonna just
giving you the
get more
go-ahead to
clarification.
start working on some of these
Yeah,
small
yeah,
projects.
Yeah, and what, I mean, the same deal with that, the addition, I mean, stuff like that. If you need to, you can call any contract, hey, what do you call it? What are you gonna charge me for per foot for ditching?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to get a menu from these guys and.
Yeah,
And that way there,
spreadsheet,
you know how many feet you gotta do. You don't need a formal bid, you're not
Right.
hitting the 10,000.
spread it out, blow it out, just,
Yeah, and like, you don't put two guys on the same road, but
That's-
you can put one in East Sangerville and one in South Sangerville and let's get it done.
I mean, the purpose of the bidding is to save the town money.
right,
So, bid it, call it, we just need to know the direction.
As long as they show up when they're supposed to and they do what they say they're gonna do, if they're competitively priced.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, we're doing things differently. I'm not even opposed to, if we've got more than one section of ditching you gotta do, like, I don't take like that 800 feet. I do not wanna split that up amongst
No,
contractors.
no.
That needs to be one guy, let's
No,
get
no.
that done.
Yeah.
But after that, if we've got a section of ditching on one road we gotta do, and you got another piece over here, I'm not opposed to the thought of giving this to a contractor, giving this one to a contractor.
Oh,
Let's
no.
see what your work is at the end. Even though you're 5 cents cheaper, this guy did a much better job and actually is better for the town.
No,
I mean, that's my thought process of how we,
No, the one contractor we were with, he said, the only thing I would suggest, he says, don't put two contractors on the same road, same.
no, I
oh,
don't.
no,
I
no,
said
no,
no.
no, no, no,
That makes sense. if
Yeah.
you wanna
No,
do
no,
that.
I mean,
right,
one side of me loves the idea of, you know, when I talk to Mickey Knowles and Abbott, and he seems almost like it's a giant piece of mind that he can call one guy and only always have to deal with one guy and takes care of everything for him. But me on the other side of it, I think glass half empty, not half full, and I'm just thinking, oh, we're locked into this one guy and he has us. so we're not price shopping, so he can gouge you and you never even know it, and I can think of a lot of negative things at the
I
same
think
time.
you always want to keep active with
Somebody
multiple
else.
contractors.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to.
At least getting bids, because that's the one thing that Heartland town manager said was he does do, even though he hires one contractor, he does the price shopping. And
Just
so
make
he
sure
makes
he
sure
stays in
CYA.
Keep him.
And I'm
his-
sure that that contractor
That's
knows that,
Right.
and
Right.
he makes sure he stays,
You're right.
but
Well,
I
that's
can just
another
see,
advantage where if you do have a person that kind of doesn't really want to screw up this relationship, he's not, if he has a culvert that collapses on you, he's probably going to fix it because
well,
Right.
you're important to him.
go to Parkman. Parkman's road commissioner is their contractor
Yeah.
that does
Oh,
all the
geez.
plowing.
Oh.
It is their contractor
Really,
that does the
You're
grading,
going?
Good God, people.
but that's their road commissioner is the contractor. Does everything.
But he's very reasonable. I saw his plow bid. It was cheap.
He's got a good deal, and he's not gonna pass it up.
You're gonna be hitchhiking home, Mike.
Yeah, I got the keys.
You're not even gonna unlock the door for her, all right?
Okay, let's go.
All right, so we're just tabling.
It's
Yeah, we're gonna
Wednesday.
table,
Yeah,
but Wednesday I would like to think. that
yeah,
we
yeah,
can get
yeah, we need to,
Yeah, it's forward
Forward.
fast.
yeah.
Yeah. ATV request on East Sangerville Road. This is old business from
Yeah,
yesterday.
that's the disabled guy over there that would like to be able to get the access like everybody else. The railroad bed, at first he was hoping to get the East Sangerville and then the line road, but where the line road's a Dover issue, if we could at least open up from where it doesn't go on East Sangerville by McNaughton Hill Road, from there down to the line road, then he can just go further the other way. So that's what he's asking for.
It seems like we're just pretty much rubber stamping these.
Right,
things
right.
these
I
days.
think that's,
We're almost to the point of we don't, I think we're in bigger problems.
right.
Or we'd have to have a pretty legitimate not to, I think, at this point.
The whole road or just the portion?
It's already there's a stretch already open, so it would be a continuation from the McNaughton Hill intersection, that corner. Right now it stops there. So on the East Sangerville Road, it would be opened up from there to the line road.
Which is gonna require signage.
Yep. Pretty sure we have them. I'll have to double check. but-
All we need is what the access road signs.
Yeah,
And
but we have a bunch
the
already.
club has them, right?
Yeah, we have all the signs.
Okay.
Good.
Those aren't ours
They
responsibility.
are ours.
Okay.
Well, there's a bunch of them that are the clubs, there's a bunch of them that are private owners, and since the club started, the club's kind of been the gatekeeper. They've been the
That's
ones
good.
that are putting the signs up, taking the signs down, so.
Good, good.
So why don't you make this motion again from those locations that you just said?
I make a motion to open up from on the East Sangerville Road, from the McNaughton Hill Road to the Line Road.
Second. All in favor? C, personnel policy discussion.
Considering it's 7:45.
I would say we table it.
Yeah.
Correspondence?
I do have a couple of things just to,
It's good we started at 5.
Yeah.
See that?
this is just
Switch to 4. We'll still
it's a
be
voting
here eight.
ballot. It's a main municipal thing. You just have to name me as the voting agent if you want to vote. It's a, you really don't even have any choices. I mean, you vote 1 here and you vote 3 here.
Oh, yeah. I guess it doesn't matter. They're gonna win.
Right, exactly. And then we did get a letter from the Guilford Sangerville Sanitary District. It says, "To Charlie Cleaves, the Board of Trustees would like to thank you for your 30 years of service and commitment as a sanitary district
Wow.
board member, representing the town of Sangerville. Your ideals and integrity always persevered while looking out for the best interests of the residents of Sangerville, as well as the well-being of the Guilford Sangerville Sanitary District. Your commitment to being treasurer of the district for over 28 years allowed the long-term financial continuity and planning that will benefit the district for many years to come. The board, employees, customers, and residents of Sangerville have and will continue to benefit from your 30 years of service.
Nice, very nice.
And the final piece of mail, every year you have to sign your LRAP. That is your local roads reimbursement funds. I signed it, I filled it out, and I've sent it back. And it's just so that you can get the main refund for road
Yes.
repair.
Oh,
And I think it actually went up a little bit this year.
Nice.
It's 33,360. And they award it once a year. It used to be quarterly, but now it's just once a year. So that's
Great.
correspondence.
good.
Additional agenda items?
I just have this complaint about the ATVs on the French's Mills.
That's what Peter spoke to at the
Yeah,
beginning.
and I just wanted to clarify, you said that they can call the police department?
I called the sheriff's department.
And so a resident now can call the
A
sheriff's
resident
department?
could anyway, but now there's already an official complaint.
Well, so that's what I need to inform this person of the proper procedure
I
if
would,
it happens at
if
3 o'clock.
anybody calls, I would say that they should call the sheriff's department.
Correct.
That's what I will say.
And
Because we are not enforcement of any of this. It's once all the town is doing is granting that access, then it's a public safety.
no, a lot of folks have the impression that we have authority we don't have.
Well, the other comment was the 25 mile per hour signage. They would like to have that signed. And when I went through your public ways, ATVs on public ways and posted speed limits, our ordinance on traffic control doesn't say anything about posting ATVs at 25 miles an hour.
Last year, when the original sign, when it was originally approved for French's Mills, that was basically the start of this whole, when that was originally approved, that was approved at 25 miles per hour. And then, the following year, Ken got work with Brian Bronson, recommended, as well as Greenville and a lot of these other towns, to lift that 25 mile an hour, because what you're actually doing is you are impeding traffic, which is a greater safety than
So was that a board vote that it was
that was
lifted?
correct. The board voted last spring to allow access at the posted speed limit signs,
All I needed.
Which is what the state recommends.
which is what the state recommends. So that's where it gets, I mean, if the town can, and if that's what,
It would take an ordinance.
well, no, the town, we can just do that ourselves.
No,
We can-
but if we wanted to, but
Correct.
I suspect that this board is probably not
No,
going to be
no.
inclined to do that.
I just, if we can't get the police to enforce it, I don't know
That's
how
the
we're
problem.
gonna put a
Right.
25 on it.
But that's exactly right.
And I mean, nothing against your complaint in any way, but
No.
I'm a firm believer that these nighttime riders and these high-speed riders, if we pull every sign tomorrow,
They're going to do it
they're
anyway.
gonna.
They're still going to break the law.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
They just need to get busted a few times.
That's what they need, is to get some tickets out there. I mean,
So it's illegal for them to be out after dusk?
yep, that's
Correct.
a
On the
state
road.
law,
Okay.
period. That's
Okay,
not
so
a
we're
town,
just
that's,
adhering to the state laws?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
But when you bring it to their attention, he seemed quite interested.
So they'll might do a
and
little,
trust me, I passed the word about this and how we were gonna get a hold of the police department, and there's gonna be some enforcement, and I'm hoping that with the club doing that, that
Good.
maybe that word's gonna get around.
It seems like they're coming in and then going out. So if they get a call and say, gee, they just flew by here at 1, the guy,
They'll get 'em on the
he
other
can get
side.
out from Dover and get over the Sills Mills Road, he could pick them off coming back. That's how it works.
So it's Piscataquis County Sheriff.
Yep,
do you know where they're going?
Yeah, well,
theories.
Oh,
I do.
oh,
It's been 3 years, and I've been watching that video with some of them, and they got
Jeez.
new machines this year, and you can't miss them. They got the brightest lights in the world. I mean,
Wow.
that's at the night.
in the middle of the night?
That was
So
beautiful.
they're totally breaking the law?
Oh yeah, no, there's no,
And-
it has really nothing to do
Yeah,
with
they're not doing
our
it for
posting or
themselves.
anything.
Right,
They just-
They got it down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, we had a complaint on Silver's Mills, and it was a Saturday, it happened 2 weekends in a row,
Yeah.
and I would about guarantee it was the same group,
Yes.
because they were moving when they went by my house.
No, they're beautiful machines if you got them on.
Yeah.
I would
Jeez,
feel comfortable.
Jeez.
I know personally, I've got a Mine's a 500, so at 45 miles an hour, we'll tie mine right completely in a knot, and that's going downhill, and you better be Flintstone and helping it. And at 45 up the railroad bed, I've had them guys come around me in the ditch, completely
Ooh.
sideways.
Are you
Oh yeah,
kidding?
if they weren't doing 80, they weren't
Yeah,
even moving.
A couple of years ago, they used to
How
go
they-
side by side on the
frightening.
road.
Oh, these new machines are unbelievable. I mean, it's just like watching Bajar on TV.
And
You watch the
they're
sand
loud.
rails, that's what they do. They go.
Loud and they're fast.
Scary. And are they passing through, or are they residents of Sangerville? Do we
No, they're
know?
passing through.
They're passing through.
They're
Okay.
friends of somebody on Route 23.
Okay, all right. All right, so we just have to set up a trap. The sheriff does.
Oh, the warden.
That's right, there you go. Okay, so that's.
And it's funny, she
that's-
mentioned, she said, at 3 in the morning, quite often you'll get an open container too.
There you go. Yeah,
All right,
you think.
executive session? None? I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
See you all next week.
same time,
Same station.
same. That is for